Okay, Ms. City Manager, we're ready to go.
All right, we have the remainder we had from Development Services. We already had Al Davis. We had the remainder of Development Services. We had the 5-minute economic development presentation, and then we will have police and fire. So, yeah, I don't know why everybody's smiling. And we have the pictureless economic development presentation, so it will be 5 minutes. So, Brandy Ezell, our interim and acting city engineer and department head, is doing a great job for us, and she is here to tell you about lots of things engineering. I'm not here to steal her thunder. We're going to dabble, though, a little bit in the citywide traffic study. She's got some data for you. While questions are welcome in the interest of time and the fact that we have an executive session at 5, please remember that we will do a work session about the citywide traffic study at a later date, but we're going to give you some initial data today just to help that along. And please ask questions, but if it goes too deep, we may want to save some of that for the work session. Brandy.
Good afternoon, council members. I just want to start by thanking you for allowing me the opportunity to tell you about what we do in our engineering services department and why we think it's important to the city of Auburn. We are a team of approximately 30 full-time staff members when fully staffed. We are made up of an administrative division, an engineering division, a traffic division, and an inspection division. In a nutshell, our mission is to oversee the design and construction of things that are constructed within the city of Auburn, whether that's public or private. Particularly, though, we want to make sure that what is constructed within the right-of-way is constructed meeting all state, federal, and local standards so that we have something that can be easily and effectively maintained for our future infrastructure. One of the biggest things that we do is we implement our capital projects. So in FY25, we actually have been managing over $73 million worth of projects. 10% of those are in design, and 89% of those are in construction right now. We do have about 1% is dedicated for the funding of some private companies that are assisting us with our construction management. The $73 million is consistent with things we've done in the past, and it does depend on the size and complexity of some of the capital projects that we are working on, but it's definitely not uncommon to what we do. Just a little bit about specifics on some of the projects we've been working on. The North Dean Road and East University Drive intersection improvement project, you guys are well aware of that one. We have the design of the North Donahue Drive widening project, and that is this part from Shug Jordan to Sagahatchee Creek. We also have been working on the design of the outer loop, the first phase from Miss James Road to Richland Road. Those projects were identified as needs in our comprehensive traffic study. From our Renew Opelika Road plan, we have been working on an access management plan, which basically is going to be from Temple Street to the city limits, and that will be looking at where we want to install some medians, some changing up some driveways, consolidating driveways, and working on some safety enhancements along the corridor. We also have been working on our Gay Street streetscape construction project. That is a project that was derived from our Auburn Downtown Improvement Plan. And then we've also been working on a replacement culvert project on East University Drive at Town Creek. That is a corrugated metal pipe, and if you'll remember from Dan's slides, that those definitely need to be replaced throughout the city, and this is one of those. We are also working on and about to bid the South College at Duval Drive traffic signal installation project. That will also include some fiber installations to connect that signal and a few others to our traffic control center. And you guys are well aware that we have been working on our annual resurfacing and our FDR full depth reclamation project. Those resurfacing and FDR are still underway. Per Megan's little teaser, we have looked at our 2019 comprehensive traffic study. When we classified the projects, we found 5 basic types of projects ranging from access management, bike ped, capacity, turn lane, and safety. It just happened to work out that they are pretty well evenly distributed throughout the study into those 5 categories. We looked at the completion of those projects, which ones were complete and incomplete. 45% of the recommended projects have either been completed or in the process of being completed or are budgeting in our upcoming budget cycle. We drilled down a little bit further to the incomplete projects, again looking at those same 5 types of projects. What we found is that only 11% of the incomplete projects are capacity or safety based, which is basically telling us that we are working on what we consider to be the higher priority projects first. That's leaving behind 44% of the projects as bike ped projects, or 22% that are access management based. Of the 22% that are the turn lanes, those might be things such as a right turn lane on Glen Avenue at Airport Road. That one's fairly constructible. It might also be a right turn lane on Donahue at Glen, right at the goalpost. There's not enough right-of-way and not enough room, and unless we want to completely demolish a building, that's going to be a hard thing to get constructed. So some of those projects are very difficult to obtain, even though they are listed as things that we need to do. Other things that we've done over the past year in regards to our traffic is we have been doing a lot with our traffic signal operation and management. We've done this through partnerships with Temple Managed Services, private consultants, and our in-house staff. We've retimed signals along corridors of East Sanford Avenue, North Donahue Drive, Glen Avenue, and also East University Drive. We've implemented the coordinated signal timings, and then we have refined those. The traffic study implemented those coordinated things. We have refined them yet again, and we need to continue to do that. Industry standards are you need to do retimings every 3 to 5 years, depending on your growth. In our downtown areas, that usually means every 3 years. One interesting tidbit from our Donahue Drive corridor, we were in the southbound direction during the AM peak. We were able to reduce the travel time from 5 minutes to 2 minutes. So we saved 3 minutes along a little bit less than a half-mile distance. Now, we don't see those results on most of our retimings, but this one was particularly, we knew there were issues there because we had the university and the city working independently. Through this project, we were able to work with the university to combine our efforts and make that a seamless transition all the way from the city into campus. So that's why we were able to see such tremendous results on the Donahue corridor. Other projects that we've worked on this past year, we do a lot to help our other city departments. We've assisted the Parks and Recreation Department with some of the projects out of their the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Master Plan. Those projects have included the completion of Ann Pearson Park, the Lake Wilmore Recreation Center, as well as the Lake Wilmore Fields, dehumidification system, and pool cover. We've also been working on the Boykin campus, and we've started working on the Richland Park Master Plan. We have assisted our Public Safety Department with the construction of their training center classroom up on Highway 280, as well as some electrical and lighting needs on some of the existing training facilities out there as well.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll go back to that last slide. The Boykin campus construction. I noticed that along Donahue, there was some constructions done to the road right there. Can somebody just say what type of construction that was and is it complete? Because I still see that all the
Yes, ma'am.
construction equipment still there.
So a couple of things. We were adding turn lanes into the new complex. That was the kind of what initiated it. But we also had some really bad soils out there, as well as a culvert and some infrastructure that needed to be improved. All of that was done. There are still some things that they are working on, some retaining walls, some sidewalks, pedestrian lights. So there is still work going on out there, but And we will still have some lane closures, but not any full detours. So they may have some lane closures when they do the resurfacing and things, but the majority of it is complete.
Again, we also found a problem we weren't expecting, and we had to pivot, and I think our staff did a nice job, too, of everything we could before school started. And we had some angry folks recently. We tried our best, and really the contractor pivoted with us a good bit to make it happen.
Yeah, we actually, our staff and the contractors worked a lot of long hours overtime to get that reopened. So that really was a huge effort that they put in. So we also work a lot with our other government agencies. We're currently working with Lee County on 2 projects. One is the widening of Beehive Road, and the other is the roundabout at Society Hill Road and Moores Mill Road. We also have a project with both the City of Opelika and Auburn University for a bike facility around the newly expanded runway safety zone. That project should be getting underway very, very soon. They were hoping to get it done this summer, and that has not happened, but it is coming up quickly. We are also working with the Alabama Department of Transportation on the installation of some traffic monitoring cameras along I-85 from exit 50 to 58. And those are both for the purposes of monitoring traffic congestion, accidents, as well as public safety.
Brandy, on those, many parts of the state have them, but this part of the state has been absent. Opelika may be getting some as well, right?
That is correct.
Will this help for knowing when a detour is needed to come through town?
Yes. And ALDOT has response vehicles that show up during incidents. So this also allows them to know when to send out those response incident vehicles.
Are those, can they be monitored from your own personal site? Can
They have many purposes.
citizens can monitor them?
The citizens will be able to see on ALDOT's website eventually.
Yes. So we also work, a lot of what we do is with our private developments, and we have any development that comes into the city of Auburn has to go through what we call a development review process with our development review team. That team is made up of multiple departments such as water resource management, planning, inspection services, environmental services. Each of these different departments have an opportunity to review the plans, make comments, make sure everything is per their standards. And our engineering services department basically manages the development review process by compiling all the comments, ensuring that they're completed as they're needed, and working with each of the departments on these needs. With these developments as they come in, if they are over a certain size, they are required to do what we call a traffic impact study. The results of that traffic impact study would identify what improvements, if any, they're required to make to our infrastructure. So that can be left and right turn lanes, that can be additional through lanes, it could be adding streets as shown on our major street network, things like that. Also, this is where they might be asked to provide a contribution for future signal retimings and other joint projects that we work on together. Some of the joint projects we've worked on this past year include the East University Drive at Stoker intersection improvements. They were required to put in left and right turn lanes and a traffic signal. We looked at the project and saw that it didn't take very much distance to be able to connect their widening to the widening that was also done recently for the Chick-fil-A to make a complete 5-lane section through that corridor. So we actually worked with them to make that happen. This year, we've also worked with the district, which is at the corner of Richland Road and Shug Jordan, to have them install about 70 linear feet of sidewalk beyond what was part of their scope. And that sidewalk is on the west side, which takes you from their property to the intersection of Yarborough Farms Boulevard, where the elementary school is. And the idea there was any children that might be living at the district now have the opportunity to walk to school, thus hopefully reducing some of the congestion along Richland Road. Just some key metrics of things that we're doing and have done. This is some stats from our DRT process. You'll see that we've had a 34% increase in cases over the past 10 years. We have added a second review person, which has allowed us to decrease our review time. Right now, our mean review time for FY25 is 79 days. Now, that includes all projects, and that includes both our review time as well as the consultants, the back and forth that we do. Just a little information, 78% of the projects are site developments. The other 22% are subdivisions. And while there are quantitatively less subdivisions, those are typically larger projects and actually require more time to review. Additionally, site plans for these multi-story developments, those also typically require longer review times.
Is 79 days typical? Or is that
That's
longer?
actually the lowest we've been to date.
Okay.
Yeah, so historically.
Does that 79-day number take into account the subdivision and any other?
It does.
Okay.
Now, that's our mean review time, so that's not the outer limits of it, but
Yes.
yeah, that's just the mean.
Yeah, it depends on the size and complexity of the project, and one of our challenges is the completeness of plans that meet our regulations once submitted. We have a philosophy where we could reject plans for not being, if they're really not far along, we will reject them, but there's often mistakes in the plans. Everybody makes mistakes. The more that there are, one mistake begets four other things that need to change, and a lot of that timing has to do with things not meeting criteria when they get submitted. And I'm not saying it's intentional. That's the back and forth. A lot of you at the dais hear from people that say our regulations are extremely complicated, and one of our challenges is our citizens have expected this level of review and scrutiny on projects, and that's why we are where we are. But these review times are, while they sound significant, a smaller project on a very simple site that, is a rebuild of a building where you're not doing heavy grading or whatever would be a lot faster. Something like the Chipotle on Opelika Road only took a while due to some turn lane issues. Otherwise, they're pretty fast with the whole site side of it because it's really not a big grading job there. It was a redevelopment.
And that was another location where we were hoping to do a public-private partnership and just couldn't get it to work out. So we do look for those opportunities. And to Megan's point, most of our developments go through at least 2 reviews. And that's us, again, we're looking at everything on that site. Their water lines, all the utilities, maybe not Alabama Power and Charter, but the city's utilities. We're looking to make sure those are done properly, designed properly, storm drain, roadways, everything. So it's a pretty complex part of what we're doing, in addition to what planning is looking at and all of those nuances as well. Just some notes about the inspections that we do for all of these projects. These metrics here include both the public and private infrastructure that we are inspecting. So you'll see that we consistently inspect over 20,000 linear feet of water lines, sewer lines, storm sewer lines. We are currently looking over 144 active construction sites. We have over 400 detention ponds that we inspect. We do about 200 of those annually. And in that case, we're looking to make sure they're maintained, that they're not overgrown, that their outfalls and all of those things are safe and not in jeopardy of any kind of deterioration. We also our inspectors also handle our resurfacing projects, where just in FY24, they resurfaced 29 streets for a total of 21 lane miles of streets that got resurfaced in FY24. And in on average, we are installing 9 miles of new streets per year. So
Does that mean going from dirt to pavement?
those are new streets, so new subdivisions, things like that.
Yeah, on the dirt to pavement, we haven't proposed a project in a while that the private sector is not funding to pave like an existing dirt road, say something like Councilman Koblenz deals with Bonnie Glenn and his ward, among other things, further out at Society Hill, Sand Hill area. We haven't done one of those in a while.
That's not inherited roads.
This is not inherited roads. Those are new roads that we are inspecting and taking into our
So Will
inventory.
Beekner Parkway would have played a role in that, where we built that. The city doesn't often deliver new roads. Most of these are new subdivision roads.
Yeah, and I don't know if I remember it correctly, but I think in our slide I'm showing roughly 10 miles in FY '25 and 6 in FY '24. I think Dan was reporting maybe 16 miles that we have taken over. So his reports include those county transfers and other things like that. And looking at what our traffic division does, you'll see that we've had 126% growth in the quantity of our pedestrian lights in the last 5 years. We've taken on 10 additional traffic signals in that same time period. That's a good bit of growth. We are now maintaining over 7,000 signs. That's your stop signs, speed limit signs, street name signs, any of those. To give you an idea of what kind of maintenance we deal with on that infrastructure, we received 120 requests for streetlight repairs, 231 requests for traffic signal repairs, and 93 requests for traffic calming, and that was in the last year.
Of those 93 traffic calming, how many did we actually build or implement or install? I guess install is the right word.
None.
None.
Yeah, we did send out several petitions and gave applicants the opportunity to try to get the support of the neighborhood, but the petitions were not successfully completed or returned to us.
And we did this for a long time with one traffic engineer, and now we have a second one. But we have one wearing two hats right now.
Yes.
How do those typically start, with the fix-it application or the pedestrian lights, I'm sorry?
The pedestrian lights or the decorative pedestrian lights or the street lights?
Just street lights.
Yeah. So typically the street light requests come in through our Fix-It app. Sometimes people do call our front line and then we'll put that request in for them.
Councilman Mormon, do you mean for the installation of a street light or just the repair?
Installation.
That's what I thought you were referring to. So Brandy will give you some metrics on distance and so on. We go out and measure. Those do come in. Pedestrian lights, she'll get street lights in a minute, are only in areas where there's a pedestrian lighting plan. There's also a number of subdivisions that have private pedestrian lights that they maintain that we don't have anything to do with. So these numbers about pedestrian lights are just the ones the city owns.
Yes, the number of pedestrian lights are the decorative ones like you see throughout downtown and that sort of thing. Now, the 127 repair requests, those cover everything. That covers the decorative lights, the lights at the interchanges, and any others throughout the city of Auburn. Some of those are actually the power company. A lot of people contact the city to have a power company light repaired. Sometimes that's just us funneling the report to them. Other times it's us working with the power company because there's an underground cut or some other more significant issue, and we just respond to the citizen to let them know what the update is.
And Brandy, our typical spacing, when people call and want a street light in their neighborhood, what are you looking at?
Yeah, so it does depend on if it's a lower, a shorter post or a taller post. But typically those spacing standards are anywhere from 200 feet to 500 feet. Obviously, the taller it is, the better the spread we get of light. So those lean toward the 350 to 500, and then the shorter ped lights are the 200 to 350 range. So, and if they want to make that request, they can call our office or they can put in a fix-it request, and we will work with them to see if we have adequate lighting or not. Sometimes they can also put some lights in at a small cost directly between them and the power company.
So if you call in lights, if a street light is out on your street, and that light, I guess, I don't know if it belongs to the city or it belongs to Alabama Power Company, but because you called it in, so y'all refer, if it's Alabama Power Company, you just go ahead and refer over to Alabama.
That is correct, yep.
So that person is not responsible for determining who lights it is.
No, they're not. We do encourage people to call the power company directly, but if they're not getting a response from them or if it's not a timely response, then we tell them to go ahead and call us. Majority of our streetlights are maintained by the power company. We do have it. Basically, if you're paying your power bill to Alabama Power, it's probably an Alabama Power Company light. If you're paying it to T-Rec or Dixie, then it's probably one of their lights. If it's not one of their lights, they will let us know, and then we can address it.
And Alabama Power has a thing on their website also that you can fill out.
Yes.
And we were replacing a lot of the lights to LED
Yes.
lights.
Yes.
How are we on that?
So we have
process?
completed all of the tall pole lights. Those are all done. Alabama Power is still working on some of the shorter posts, the 16 to 12-foot post, and they are doing those neighborhood by neighborhood.
Okay.
Okay. These are just some of our key accomplishments. This project, which is the East University at Annaloo and East University at Saugahatchee Intersection Improvement Project, this one was recommended as part of our comprehensive traffic study because of the number of collisions that were occurring. So we did our post-construction analysis 1 year after it was constructed, and we are happy to report that we reduced the collisions at Saugahatchee to 0. And we reduced the collisions at Annaloo by 50%. Now, what is important about that is we did not eliminate all of them, but we did eliminate the what we call right angle collisions, the ones that are the most dangerous and the most severe. So the only remaining accidents out there are the rear end collisions, which are very common at signalized intersections and typically are just property damage only.
Where are these numbers from?
The numbers are
What's
Oh.
the time period?
it was basically July of 24 to July of 25.
Okay.
This is our Gay Street streetscape project that I mentioned briefly earlier. This is the before and after picture there. You can see that we've cleaned it up quite a bit. We've added much wider sidewalks. We've removed the old retaining wall that was really compressing you next to the asphalt and next to the travel lane. We've added the pedestrian lights, landscape buffers. This was actually a unique project as it was a joint project with us and the First Presbyterian Church. They did some of their own work in the front of their building and allowed us to actually lower the grade of the grass area next to the church in order to make this have a much better, more welcoming feel for the pedestrians. This is the recent pictures at the Lake Wilmore complex. These are the multi-purpose fields that they began using this past Monday. And then also the additional covered pickleball courts at the facility.
And real quick, while I'm here, based on conversations that you got text messages about some of you last weekend, we have another soccer tournament this weekend. The weather is not looking favorable for this weekend for our natural surface, so we will pivot some soccer to Lake Wilmore. That is our current plan. To avoid that, we've asked the tournament organizers to pivot with us, and we are planning to use the Lake Wilmore fields this weekend to get tournament play in. However, I need to be clear, you can see the striping on these. These are mostly captive to lacrosse and football, flag, and tackle, but will be used for soccer when necessary and available when those sports are not in use, and then baseball, softball practices in the spring, etc. Sorry, Brandy.
And last but not least, this is Ann Pearson Park, which was recently completed. And if you haven't heard it enough, please join us Monday for our dedication of this park. It's a beautiful park and will be a great amenity for the citizens on the north side of town. This park is along Shelton Mill Road. What are we doing as we move into FY26? Well, obviously, we'll continue the design and construction of our capital improvement projects. But we also have some initiatives that we're doing within our own department that will continue our emphasis on traffic flow and management of our traffic control systems. We will also be initiating a permitting process where we can track the work within the rights of way to better know what contractors are doing what, where, and try to coincide and kind of make sure that they're not out there on a home football game trying to close a street or something like that. And then we also have a goal to review and optimize some of our internal procedures for processes such as receiving our as-built data and also processes for the right-of-way and easement vacations.
So are these pictures of, the new recycling in the library that's coming?
Yes, those are the Boykin campus renderings.
Okay.
And that is all I have, so I'm happy to answer any additional questions. I do thank you very much for allowing me to share this information with you.
Are we starting to use AI in any of these aspects, like traffic signaling or?
So we're not necessarily using AI in our traffic signals or other things. We are using a lot of smart signal technologies, but not necessarily AI.
Any other questions for Brandy?
I saved all mine for last, so. Okay. On your CIP project design and construction management slide, we talked about the North Donahue widening from Shug to Saugahatchee. I know in our city council priority list, we had the other part of Donahue noted, and that I think it's in the design phase for this year.
Yes.
Is any way we can accelerate that? Because that's just a mess.
So unfortunately, we've got to do the design, which was going to include some environmental assessments and things like that. That's also going to take time. But what we are going to do is break out the intersection of Farmville and North Donahue to do a separate project there. And so that will accelerate the schedule of the intersection improvement project.
And how is that going to coincide with the opening of the high school?
So the phase one will be open prior to the new high school opening.
That's the one going down to Shug? From
Yes.
the creek to Shug?
Yes.
And then the Farmville intersection will be concurrent with that, or sort of?
Well, I don't know that we'll get it completely done in time. There's also some materials that will have to be ordered, and if the poles for the traffic signals take usually 4 to 5 months to get those in. But we have to have the design first, which means we have to have the survey and all that kind of stuff. But we are trying to accelerate that one as quickly as we can.
And I guess the shortage of contractors in the area, which we've experienced in the past, I've been told that they're gonna be doing the paving for the high school parking surfaces concurrent with some of the Donahue work. Is that?
We haven't bid the Donahue project yet.
Yeah, we do not yet have our contractor on board.
Okay. Whoever it happens to be, and time-wise, is that gonna be a problem?
I honestly don't know what their schedule is for their pavement.
Fine, that's
Sorry.
fine. Okay, and the other day, we talked a lot about the Wright streetscape, and the necessity to pay the contractor to do some work there, or potential necessary. It's not on this downtown plan, is that still ongoing, or where do we stand on the Wright Street?
This is a Toomer Street streetscape is what the developer we're contributing toward.
Where do we stand on the Wright streetscape?
So our Wright Street streetscape project was actually completed a few years ago. And what's going on now is actually taking out some of that and redoing it to make it work with the new site for Wright Street.
The new site being
The
The mark.
the mark.
We're not funding any of that. That's 100% on the developer.
We are not funding any of Wright Street.
Okay. The incomplete projects from the 2019 comprehensive traffic study, can we get a list of those?
We'll talk about that in that work session, and we'll go over that with you at that time.
I'd like to have a list of those, please.
And so a lot of those are also not feasible things. If anybody wants to vote to narrow Dean Road down to one travel lane in each direction from Fusakli's to Moore's Mill Road, that's one that's not being implemented. So there's a lot of those kind of things.
Yeah, that's fine.
The comprehensive traffic study is still online, if you want to view it as well.
Yeah. Okay, the retention ponds, if you're inspecting 200 of them or 100 of them a year, who does the cleanup of those? Is it the property owner or the city, or?
It's typically the property owner. Most of them are privately maintained. Well, we do have a few that the city owns, but most of them are private.
Okay, and I noticed your little icon here has a guy scuba diving in the retention ponds. I want to see that, I want to meet that fella. Okay.
It's hard to get an icon for a pond. What can I say?
Yeah, okay. And staffing wise, you're now the acting engineering services director,
Correct.
right? And your permanent position is traffic engineering manager?
Yes.
Of which, and then you had a traffic engineer under that.
Yes, that's a recent addition.
So what do we have working traffic exclusively now?
One traffic engineer.
And then if you were to revert back, then you would be the second.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, where do we stand on a search for our permanent
So
engineering
it's a
services
personnel
director?
matter of which I cannot discuss publicly because we're actively in the recruiting process.
You are in the recruiting, okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
the applications have closed. I just can't disclose
That's
the
fine, I
applicants
just
where
want to
we
make
are.
sure something was moving on that. And that's no reflection on you, by the way. Okay, those are all my questions, thank you.
All right, thanks,
Thank
Brandy.
you, Brandy. Thank you for doing a great job.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right. Our planning director, whom you never hear from, is ready to present. Greg's just swapping out PowerPoints, so give me a second.
I think it's my first time speaking at this.
Behind,
I usually sit at the table.
it was behind engineering, it was behind this one.
Go ahead, Justice.
Good afternoon, council. Thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to speak to y'all today about what we are doing in the planning department. All right, so unlike, I think I mentioned this last time, unlike other departments, I don't have many active pictures of my staff, and next time I need to get active pictures of my guys putting signs out, maybe us reviewing some cases, us standing in front of pretty streetscapes that we've participated with. So I've kind of poached some other departments and their photos. So some of them are contextually relevant, some of them are not. But I just don't like stale slides as part of my presentations. So, all right, so we'll get started with part of the presentations. We'll get started with the accomplishments. So we got the 5-year update to the comp plan. I know that was a pretty big process. We had several work sessions with that. That was a lot of the future land use changes and proposals that we recommended. That was a hot topic where we had several work sessions where that was joint with council. And we also had several work sessions with the planning commission as well. With the PUD ordinance, I know that was one of the things that when I was hired, that was one of the things that we talked a lot about. I'll never forget. First day I was having lunch, several developers stopped me to harass me about we needed this new thing about the zoning ordinance, this new PUD ordinance, you're supposed to get all these things done. And so that was one of the things that we did accomplish this past year. And then one of the other things was that the Auburn University fellow, we had a fellow program last year that we started, and we brought a student on from the master's program, and it actually produced someone that we hired, and he's now a full-time planner with the staff. So I count that as a success of working with the university to eventually create a pipeline of future planners in the city. So that's something that is very critical for us because, as you guys may know, we have a lot of turnover in my department, and we have had trouble hiring quality candidates or just finding quality candidates. So that was a really big win for us. And also the zoning text amendments. Like I said, I mean, that was one of the critical things communicated to me when I took this job, but also one of the critical things that I meet in a lot of our pre-app meetings, a lot of the discussions that people stop me and talk about is that they have issues with the zoning ordinance, and so they want to do things about it. And so we've gotten several zoning text amendments across the finish line this past year as well. All right. I really like to move when I talk, so this is stationary is a lot. The year in stats, and so 271 acres annexed in FY24, 450 acres annexed in FY25, and so that's to date. And so we still have 40 days left in FY25, and so all the ones that are FY25 they still have time to increase, and they will surpass some of the FY24 numbers. So we have the sign permits, 107. I think it's one of the jokes of being a planner that we talk about amongst ourselves is that you get into planning to build cities, design cities, and all this stuff, and it's like, what do you do at work? You review sign permits. So the pre-app meetings for everybody who may not be familiar. Pre-apps are critical to our development review process. So every single development starts with a pre-app meeting. So what that means is it's a pre-application meeting for whatever you want to do, whether that be an annexation, conditional use permit, et cetera, or a subdivision. So we'll sit down, we'll talk about what they want to do, what the issues are, what the standards are, and that way it can consolidate that development review process that Brandy mentioned. And it makes better applications for planning commission. It makes better applications for us to review and submissions to get down on that 79-day timeline. And I guess we do have projects that are done in about a month or two. We do have projects that don't take very long. It's admin plat, some consolidations and things like that. But all of those things start with pre-app meetings. And so those are critical to our development. I had our principal planner kind of track down how many we have. And like I said, we're about to surpass our number. That's 40 days left. We already have some on the docket for next week. It's pretty common. And then lots recorded. I know that's a big number that people talk about. So for everybody just kind of watching, lots recorded. To do any development, you need to do, I guess any development, you just have raw land, would be to subdivide it. You start with the preliminary plat, and then you get a final plat. Final plats are how you convey land. Final plats are lots recorded at the county level, and then you can get a permit, and then you can build on it. So then I'm sure John Hoare, our building official, will tell you guys how many people are pulling permits on them. But no shortage. I think we've been hovering at that 500 mark for the past several years. It's been pretty consistent. I think in the FY25 we're on track, I think, to pass that again by a significant amount. Right now we just have all the numbers crunched and all the ones that we have processed, and that includes all the ones in our planning jurisdiction. So this number 535 is what is within our city limits, and I'll get to a map and I'll show you guys kind of where those are, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. All right, so here's just kind of an idea of the approved annexations. And as you guys know, the optimal boundary was a part of the future land use plan and the comprehensive plan update. So this is just kind of where you're seeing where a lot of the annexations are happening. So that's FY24. And so some of the things out on the southwest side of town, a lot of that is industrial development. We have the Chewacla Ridge, which is a large rural development down on Sand Hill. And then we have some of the things up towards the northern side. FY25, more of industrial development. So we've done a lot of collaboration with IDB, with economic development, just kind of working with them on some of the projects that they're working through. We've had massive pre-app meetings on those, and we've also had massive annexations take place on some of our bigger corridors, and that impacted the future land use recommendations as well. All right. So then just a picture of the conditional uses. And as you all know, the conditional uses are some of the things. Those are part of applications that do make it to you all. The applications where we're supportive of this in theory, as long as it meets certain conditions, whether that be traffic, whether that be parking, whether that be aesthetics, etc. And so these are just kind of maps kind of showing you all where we've had those. So some of those might be residential, some of those might be businesses. It just kind of depends and varies what people are asking for and where. Then also several of those are industrial, as you guys know. Anything that is zoned industrial, all the uses within them are conditional. All right, and then sign permits. Over 107 of them. A lot of those are around corridors. We have a lot of standards with our sign permits. It's not just about how big the sign is or the color. Some of those are a lot about materials, just kind of complying with our 429 corridor. One of the things about the development process when it comes to signs and buildings along corridors is that they must be a certain standard. They must meet materials, all of those things. So it is a pretty lengthy process, requires site plans and all those things. So it might be a surprise to some of the sign contractors that we work with, are people who work from out of town, and they come to us and we have different development standards for sign permits relative to where they're used to working. All right, and then the subdivisions recorded. So like I said, these are just kind of within the bounds of the city limit. I think if you were to take that just kind of to our planning jurisdiction, it's right under 600. And I think right now we're kind of hovering above 700 on that number for this year, but we haven't choked it down to the city limit yet for FY25. And so I think I was talking to another department head recently just about the volume of work, and like the numbers do show that things have picked up this year relative to last year. All right, planning department goals. So a lot of the bulk of what we do is development review. And so the development review is, like Brandy talked about, just kind of critical to each development, kind of the daily planning, short range planning stuff. People come in with applications, we process them about what the designs need to be, layouts, complying with our standards, regulations. Long range planning is much more about long range goals, kind of looking out 5, 20 years about what that's going to be. And so we got the policy-related projects. We'll talk about that, and then joint ventures between boards. The DDRC has had several applications come before them this year. A lot of that was just on redevelopment, but they would like to talk about some of the tables, and we'll get to what that looks like. Okay, so urban neighborhood tables, and so we have urban neighborhood east, urban neighborhood south, urban neighborhood west, and so these are we've had a lot of development pressure, I'd say redevelopment pressure in our urban neighborhoods. I think we've all witnessed just kind of the proliferation of townhomes in some of the areas and what we're getting. And we're really, as DDRC is really kind of at a point where they'd like to talk about it, like some of the things that we're getting, like from a project level to what we're getting with on the street and the interaction with the streetscapes. So these are things that they would like to talk about that we've kind of been putting off for the summer for everybody to be back. So that's one of the things that we're going to be moving forward with, and it's going to be a joint venture between the Planning Commission and the DDRC of looking at the urban neighborhood tables and what that looks like.
Justice, it's fair to say that the project at Wrights Mill in Sanford would be one example of why they want to look at. The buildings seem a little too close to the street, and they meet our regulations, but those are the types of things you're talking about that they want to take a look at.
Yeah, correct. And so the setbacks in some of those, some of the setbacks got transferred from the urban core where it's 0 to 5 feet, and that's kind of what the Wrights Mill is. It's right up on the property line for residential. And then you got the zoning ordinance audit. So unlike other departments, I don't really have any capital plans. I don't have these big asks of several $1 million. The lone big ask in my budget is the zoning ordinance audit. And so it's $500,000 what we're talking about, and it's going to be a multiple year project. Could be 2 years. I think minimum 2 years. Could be 3 years. Just kind of looking at our zoning ordinance. And our zoning ordinance, very robust, very complex. Doesn't just govern height, setbacks, bulk dimensions, also governs aesthetics, also governs stream buffers. All of those things reside within the zoning ordinance. And we also have a lot of...
Before you go on.
Yeah.
Can I get you to go back to urban neighborhood tables just a minute? No, not a slide, just, there you go, the first line of this slide. What this signifies is that you're relooking at the tables, meaning the setbacks, the other metrics involved with planning.
Yeah, so...
How are you doing that?
So I'm sorry, what was your question on the...
How are you actually looking on a long-range basis to update those tables?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So like I said, that would be a joint project between the DDRC and the Planning Commission, and the reason for that is that the DDRC were a big part of the author, like they authored the tables in the urban neighborhoods initially. And so then the Planning Commission, since the DDRC doesn't have jurisdiction to review anything in the urban neighborhoods, they just set what those policies are from an aesthetic standpoint, because a lot of it is facades, setbacks, how it, like, is there activation of the street, building heights at the street level, at the ground level. All of that was set by the DDRC, but like I said, it's reviewed and administered by staff, and then it's followed by the Planning Commission.
So if I may, Councilman Mormon, ultimately, the Downtown Design Review Committee, with the architectural experts we have on there, is going to help advise the Planning Commission on that. And as they take a deeper dive and come forward with some recommendations, and that'll come to you guys to look at before they would finalize anything. But it's about the setbacks. It's just about other things. We can't regulate architecture in Alabama the way that our citizens believe we can. It's not legal. But we can regulate percentage of glass and certain openings, certain setbacks, spacing between buildings. We've done all that, and what Justice is saying is we're going to take a look at that more closely in some of the areas that weren't looked at as part of the urban core and aspects of Urban Neighborhood West. It's Urban Neighborhood South, which permeates your ward, and Urban Neighborhood East, which is also heavily in your ward.
Yeah, and so the catalyst for that, like I said, we were just under a lot of redevelopment pressure. Like I said, I know you guys have seen a lot of the townhomes go up, but some of the townhomes that we have gotten, they're putting garages on the lower level, and they're not activating the streetscape, which is what they really want to see. So there's just, I think, of the product that we're getting, and I think we're kind of at a tipping point of that if we don't change them now, we're going to be stuck with a lot of product that I think a lot of people would like to see a different one instead of getting this copy-paste version that some people aren't happy with. So that's the catalyst for looking at some of the urban neighborhood tables. So then the zoning ordinance audit, so those are separate projects. I think the tables is going to be something that we try to look at this fall, and like I said, try to get to you guys this winter. The zoning ordinance audit, that's going to be a multiple year project where we look at the entire zoning ordinance, from the concept of performance-based zoning. How do we look at making open space that is required in these subdivisions and making them not just trees and undisturbed buffers, but actually accessible and functional, and how they can be connected, and looking at internal pedestrian connectivity and bike trail connectivity between different projects. And then that'll be rolled out in periodic updates, just kind of about every 6 months or so, just kind of with making incremental progress with that. And then the focus area studies.
Justice, real quick though on that, we're going to start with the city council about what they think needs to change or needs to be revised or whatever before we get into the meat of that, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So,
I'd like to ask you a little bit more about this audit. When you describe it as an audit, you have some outside agency reviewing our zoning ordinance as it stands now?
Yeah, so so the goal is to get a consultant to work with us on it. So it'll be a joint effort between staff and this consultant. And I guess, so we'll start with the plan. We'll start with this board of kind of what you guys think need to change. And we'll have several stakeholder meetings to really kind of define the scope of what needs to change. And then we'll work with an outside consultant to review our zoning ordinance and kind of what we need to identify and how it needs to change and how it would affect how it would affect our development review process and the administration of the zoning ordinance.
And unlike like a financial audit, this audit is not necessarily mandatory. It's something that you're seeking the assistance of an outside review or to go with what's working within the ordinance, but to critique other issues of the ordinance that are not working.
Absolutely, and I guess I wouldn't say that necessarily not working. I mean, our zoning ordinance is just incredibly layered. Layered. I mean, there's like I said, I mean, you have entire zoning districts that are governed by the zoning ordinance as a whole, but then they're exclusively governed by these tables. But then there's something in the tables that reference another table that you have to work through, and so it's not necessarily streamlined in some regards. And so for some people, like, it requires a lot of different interpretation. Like I said, like, we're under an immense development pressure, and so we do want to get it right and make sure that we're not running into conflicts just kind of in our development review process. So that's the reason that we're looking at the.
And generally speaking, what was
you.
developed in 1984 by the City Council and Planning Commission that came before you and a good bit of the staff, except for maybe one person in this room, developed an ordinance that is not, Warren McCord would be the first to tell you it's not viable right now in 2025 as he sees it as one of the authors of that ordinance. And so we need to completely revamp. Our citizens can't understand it. Our developers can't understand it. It's hard for credentialed staff, and we need to get some of that simplified. But we need to be sure it's what you want, what the citizens expect from there. And I'm not sure we have everything that we want in the majority right now in the ordinance.
Have we ever had an audit or a thorough review of the zoning ordinance like we're proposing
No,
here?
I mean, I think Justice is using the word audit in a different way. It's not an audit in any which way, shape, or form. Like, we're not going to bring in another city or professional organization to tell us about our ordinance. The ordinance needs a lot of change. I don't want to use the word that we're throwing the whole thing in the trash and rewriting it, but it is a performance zoning ordinance that is not working for our citizens anymore because they don't know what they might get next door. They're not sure. You're not sure. We have too many conditional uses. We have a lot of things. We need to be a little more prescriptive instead of saying everything can coexist in a zone. If we buffer it right, that's basically what that's supposed to be. We can just do 20-foot landscape buffers, and that'll fix, a bar that is open till 2 a.m. next to single-family houses. No, that doesn't fix that. And so those are the things where it's, in using the word, it's a full, let's take a hard look at the ordinance, let's talk about what makes sense. And that's why it starts with the governing body, because you hear from constituents and you know what you think based on the seats you sit in, and we need to know what those buttons are. We know what we think. I don't know what you think. We're going to be asking the citizens what they think, developers, etc. We need to get this corrected, and we have to use a zoning ordinance while we're revamping it, so that's why it's going to take 2+ years to get it done. But our peers in the field, Justice worked other places. I came here working from other places. It's a very hard ordinance to understand for our professionals. So I know our citizens don't have a grasp on it.
Thanks.
All right. And then the focus area studies. So the focus area studies are kind of the last part of the 2030 comp plan. We have several identified that we need to complete. And so the focus area studies are just that, looking at an area and kind of determine and looking at how much change there has been, what the change is projected to look like, and if there needs to be any zoning changes associated that we need to recommend with that, just kind of closing out the zoning ordinance, or closing out comp plan 2030 as we come up on doing the new comp plan, but that's several years away. All right. So as kind of talked about on the last slide, but the periodic amendments is going to be a comprehensive review, the obscure regs, and kind of the development standards. And so some of these things that we're running into now are just things that we keep a running list of things. We have a long range meeting about every month things we run into in development review processes, things we run into the DRT process of like, hey, these might be in conflict, or hey, we updated this to comply with this state law. Like recently we went from an admin plat of 4 lots or less and increased it to 6 lots or less to comply, to match what the state of Alabama does. And so there are several obscure regulations in our zoning ordinance that also have a number of 4 for different things that trigger different parts of development. Those are things that need to be addressed as well. So it's just little things like that, very minute. They're not in a section. They're not anywhere. They're at the bottom of a table with an asterisk, but it applies to some of these developments, and we're running into it. And so those are things that we'll be coming forward with, like I said, like the periodic updates of what we need to look at and review. And then the development standards from different zonings to different zoning districts to different uses in those zoning districts, they all have development standards associated with them. And so whether that be lot width, setbacks, et cetera, those are things that we will be reviewing and kind of making recommendations on. I think one of the things that are going to make it to you all eventually is the commercial uses out in rural, and kind of thinking about that. And as we do go with that, not going into that without development standards associated with it, those are things that we need to think about. Those are things that we need to add to the zoning ordinance, and those are the immediate amendments that you guys are going to see that won't be a part of the larger zoning text amendment audit. Okay, then another one of the things that's kind of a goal over the next fiscal cycle is going to be the annexation priority map. Now, this has come under a lot more scrutiny lately as we've kind of changed our trajectory as a city. Before, the idea was that we would, everything that around us that would like to annex, be better to have control, so we'll just annex it. I think we've hit a point to where we're growing as a population. There are real costs associated with that we need to think a lot more about what our annexation looks like. So we need to redo our annexation priority map. So as you all know, our annexation priority is pretty much just looks at the viability of development places. Is it flat? Can we get utilities to it? Where is it in our optimal boundary? Where is it in Opelika's optimal boundary, et cetera? And then also, is it in the watershed? And so it was a very rigorous process. There's I think there's 24 metrics and a matrix. It's very complex, a lot of stakeholder meetings, a lot of internal discussions with staff and all the different departments and how it affects them, response times, fire service, et cetera. These are one of the things that we will be redoing. And so initially, one of the things that I thought we could do was just supplant the score for the Lake Ogletree watershed. With the sentiment around that changing of, before it was, and I guess the thought process was there's never going to be development out here. It's really, really far. As you all know, some of those pieces of land are starting to annex. There's starting to be more subdivisions out there. And I think now the thought is, as we're looking at development out there, how do we address that, and what does that look like? Hey, does that come into the city? I think there's a different feeling around that now that development is here. And so instead of just singularly changing that one input, is one of the things that we need to look at as a whole of all the utilities and kind of update it with the plan. So this is going to be a pretty big undertaking for us as well. We have a lot more long-range projects just kind of in this fiscal cycle than the last one. But the annexation priority is a major part of that, as you all know, as we're seeing a lot more annexations and desires of things on the periphery to come forward for annexation. And so we hope to better inform you all about the viability of development, but also just kind of what the sentiment from staff, and I guess also for y'all to know if something can annex, is it viable for development, and if it makes sense for the city. And so that's what the annexation priority map redo will be. So that's all I got. If you guys have any questions.
We would never annex outside the county right now. That wouldn't be done, would it?
No.
Well, it's been council policy to date. We were in Chambers County for a hot minute. That got de-annexed, but it was a legal situation. And then we have not entered into Macon County. When we deal with multiple county governments as part of what we do, Lee County's a great partner, but it starts to complicate things. So will ultimately be up to the city council, though, and how they view that.
Megan, as I hear Justice talk about all the long-range things that planning wants to do, and certainly grateful for that ambition, and we need all those that were mentioned. You and I have had our own conversations about that they need to happen. And then the day-to-day work of what's coming in the front door all the time, just the bandwidth of getting all this done. And I'd like to see you go home and see your family every once in a while. So is there enough horsepower to make sure that this happens and happens the right way? I know we're talking about hiring bringing on a consultant, but are y'all confident that we can get it done?
So if Justice didn't ask for any positions, And so that's the thing, we have added and added in both planning and engineering. Some of that was to ramp up to deal with development review. We also are very careful about adding staff in the development realm. We want to service what we've got, but we also, if the economy does strange things and things slow down, we want to be sure that we have full-time work for the people that we have. So consultants is as common, help with area-specific plans and other things. What is taking our time are not these plans, it's what the staff would, if they had their druthers, most of them would like to do all these plans. That's what planners like to do, is make plans. However, regular development review, sign permitting, and so on is just part of their purview, and that is what takes the lion's share of their time. And what we can't control is the number of applications coming in. And our only other choice that would take time off of staff would be to stretch our development review timeframes and extend deadlines and make them longer. For the private sector, that's problematic. They're usually on a 90-day due diligence. And so we have tried and been signaled to my entire career that we need to be as expeditious as possible while holding everybody accountable to the rules to be very fair to the private sector who invests much in our city.
Yeah, and so part of that, we did just recently change the structure of our department. We brought on plan and tech, and so they handle everything at the counter. So what we used to do was have several planners who would all just rotate their day to day. And so what would happen, even if you had cases, even if you had like four or five cases for the upcoming planning commission, you had a planner of the day role that you would be assigned. And so what would happen, let's say if you were, let's say on a Tuesday, there were only 3 inquiries. Well, that person really only got interrupted for maybe about an hour, but they were able to work for about 7 hours that day, getting through all their stuff. But let's say you're planner of the day on that Wednesday, but you have 10 inquiries. Well, then you didn't get anything done and you might fall behind. But now we have a planning tech that just handles exclusively everything at the counter. So all of our planners now are exclusively project managers. They handle all of their cases. Any of the long range things they're able to contribute to. So right now that's been working very well. We really, like the planners really only get interrupted if there are case specific questions that they've already been assigned to that might expedite their work anyway. So we've kind of been able to by adding that position and taking a planner away, we've been able to increase the efficiency of the planning managers who are working on their projects. So far that's why I have not requested another position. And so just that efficiency alone and that tweak has really helped the department, just kind of with our staff review and kind of cranking out and meeting our deadlines on the monthly planning commission, the BZA cases, et cetera.
Yeah, over the last several years, we've added 2 full-time planners, and 1 is switched to a planning tech, and that's at the choice of the director. He's authorized for either or.
Does the fellowship program help with that?
Yes.
That person you bring on, or are they able to help with some of that workload? Or
yes, they are. And so the only limitation on them is that they can't deal with sensitive matters or sensitive material, just kind of like with personal information. And so they don't really handle a lot of inquiries like that, but they participate in a lot of the long-range discussions. They participate in the development review process. And so I guess from a staff level, it's kind of on the longer-range projects, they're able to help, and they are assigned things in a research role where they're able to help with staff and kind of take the load off.
So, looking at this annexation map here, I noticed that the blue is everything that's in the city limit. What are all these other colors?
Yeah, it's a gradient, and so the light blue, and this is kind of dated. So the light blue are things that are already in the city, and then as you work out just pretty much what makes sense to annex, what is viable for development, where there may be existing utilities, where there may be flat land, where it may be in the optimal boundary of the city already, and where also maybe in the growth boundary of the Auburn City School District. Once you get further out, kind of down 14, and you see the larger red, kind of out on the area, or the light green, these are areas that are less viable for development. It doesn't make sense to expand utilities to those areas from a cost perspective, and then also maybe in the growth boundary of other neighboring municipalities as well. And so that's what the gradient means. It's kind of on a sliding scale. If it makes less and less sense the further you go out.
Thank you. Go ahead.
When do you think we're going to see some results from all the citizen-led subcommittees, for our planning? We had oodles of them. and
He's not involved in the 2040 process.
You're not involved?
No.
The planning director is not involved in the 2040 planning?
That's correct, because it's a strategic plan for the entire city. He handles the comprehensive plan, which is managed by the planning
Who
department.
manages the other one?
It's managed overall by the city manager's office in conjunction with the mayor.
So, all right, Mr. Mayor, when do you think we'll see something?
Hopefully this fall.
Okay. Quick question on your budget. You said you got a $500K ask,
Yep.
probably for this consultant. Your budget last year, your actual was around 828. and what you budgeted is 851. So there's only about 158,000 in there. Where do you have this consultant in your budget?
Yeah, so it was.
Hold on a second, Stephen.
It's split out over 3 years. There's a little bit in FY '25, and then the rest are in '26 and '27.
Okay, all right, that's good. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
and
you.
So I guess the reason for that. So when I've talked to several consultants about it, they bill monthly kind of deal, and so it wouldn't be something where there's like a massive payment up front or a 50% or a 60% initial payment. It'd be like a monthly, just kind of paying it as we go for the work that's being completed.
Okay, thank you.
And that falls under contractual, not personnel services.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. All right, my mistake, as usual.
All right, any other questions for Justice?
Thanks for your hard work.
So it's up to the council. We have less than an hour before our executive session is supposed to start, and we have 4 presentations. Do you want to take a break? Do you need a break, or do you just want to go?
I'm gonna grab a beverage, but we can keep going.
No, that's totally fine. I just want to give you, we can start the executive session late. I know at least one councilman has to leave early from that session, so that's all.
Why don't we take a 5-minute break?
Okay.
What's next?
What's next? Inspection services is next. Then economic development, then fire and police. All right, we'll have inspection services. John Hoare.
I appreciate the time to come talk to y'all today about what we do over in inspection services. Our primary objectives is to create a safe place for the public in commercial and residential aspects of where they may be occupying throughout the city, and trying to create a pleasant atmosphere in neighborhoods of junk, overgrown grass, dilapidated structures, and following our adopted codes, state and other federal codes. We're integral to the public health and safety and the environmental aspects as well. We try to maintain, as they're saying, high levels of safety for building occupants. The codes are adopted on various levels. Our key accomplishments, we try to utilize technology to its best advantage and not just to have something to do, to keep track of different aspects, to make it easier for the contractors, homeowners, and other partners to interact with us, and we can ensure that the progress that we're doing is efficient. We work to proactively engage and educate the contractors and other stakeholders. We could easily force the enforcement, but we found out by educating and working with people and helping them understand, it's a lot smoother, better operation and ends up with much better results. We continually are communicating. One of the things we strive to do is returning phone calls the day we got them or emails. Unfortunately, sometimes it does stretch out to another day depending on the workloads, but communications can help make a bad situation better. And so we work towards that aspect. And to address, and through using all these other key initiatives, address citizens' complaints and also other notice of violations to people to ensure that we are trying to provide the best city that looks and the safety the city would like to have. We are made up of a couple of divisions. Our plan review and permitting division, which has 2 plan reviewers that reviews a majority of the permits that are submitted to us. We'll go a little more in depth on them in a minute. We have 2 permit technicians. They're kind of the front of our office to the citizens. They take the phone calls, they schedule the inspections, they issue the permits, they interact between the inspectors and the contractors many times. It's thousands of phone calls and emails they deal with on a year, working through the portal, and then sometimes just basic customer service about things that don't even involve us. We sometimes feel like 411, people just call us, so we make sure they get in the right direction. And we have 1 administrative assistant that helps keep us with all the back of the office paperwork and aspects of running inspection services. Our plan reviewers are extremely busy. They have to know a large number of different codes, regulations, everything from the multiple building codes, fire protection standards, sprinkler systems, fire alarms, life safety codes, federal accessibility, building code accessibility, public right-of-way accessibility aspects, local municipal documents, our zoning ordinances and municipal code, as well as many engineering standards. and other laws and documents. We have to make sure we're enforcing the state architectural board laws, the state general contractors laws, the state building, residential building laws, the gas fitters laws. So it is very time intensive of every time someone submits a permit, the aspects that they have to look at it, and not just for the building plan review. For an example, as you can see over the years, these are just building plan reviews. The number of times that they've had to look at a set of plans this last year before the set of plans could be approved. So almost 9,000 times they had to review plans before we could issue the permits. The next slide will discuss kind of other tasks they have to do. This is just nothing but pure looking at the plans to make sure it's safe and built to a standard.
Why the massive jump? Could you
Last year, one of the other slides, we did about 660 single-family homes last year. This year is over 800. So it's a lot. And also, unfortunately, when construction gets better, the economy gets better, everybody wants to build, they submit plans that aren't always right. So we may have to send plans back 3, 4, 5 times. Or they correct one issue and created 2 more. So when they're doing building plan reviews, they're looking at a number of other things than just the building plans. Is it in a FEMA flood zone? Reviewing the FEMA paperwork. Is this part of a pedestrian lighting area, and making sure that aspect's been looked at? Grease traps. So this past year, they had over 25,000 different aspects for building plans they had to look at. So it takes some time, some wide knowledge of multiple agencies, regulations, not just within the city, but at state and federal level. As you can see over the years, our permits have increased and the valuations. So in 2025, projected is 6,000 permits. That includes electrical, mechanical, plumbing. So a single-family home may have 6 permits attached to it. Many of these permits are issued over the counter that never go through a plan review, or the electrician coming in to take a permit out for the outlets in a house, and the electrical doesn't go through the plan review aspect. Single-family home permits, as you can see over the years, it's increased. We're projecting 848 for this year, which is a major jump.
John, can you go back to the one slide before?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me why the valuation, what drives the valuation, and why there's, for example, you have 5,000 in fiscal year 25, and you had 4,624, but the valuation is considerably lower, even though there's more permits.
Valuation is done on the cost of the house. We're seeing fewer and fewer custom homes. So
Okay.
when it's a spec home, it's based on a certain value for that square footage. It's been the same since around 2011. Allison Edge commented on one of the first nights we're meeting that in 2026, we're going to start looking at fees across the city. We're currently valuing these houses at $101 a square foot. I think everybody would love to build for that amount.
John, are these all permits though?
Yes.
Not just houses, so large apartment complexes, other things, depending on the year things are built, industrial buildings ebb and flow year to year, so it drives permit valuation up or down when it may be fewer permits but a bigger project.
2026, you may see a big increase due to the 2 apartment complexes that we have coming. It'll be 1 permit, but worth 800 houses. So that is, as Megan says, that's another reason. So single-family homes, we're up to 848. We're projecting for the end of the year. Our other division we have is our inspectors. We have 6 building inspectors. We have 2 neighborhood inspectors. Neighborhood inspectors take care of the appearances of the neighborhoods, the streets, the signs. Planning may issue 107 sign permits. We probably remove about 1,000 signs a year off of our telephone poles and out of our right-of-ways. They handle dilapidated structures, students moving in this week. Our last 2 weeks, we've been a lot of calls about possible mold, mildew, things of that nature, and they respond to every single one of them and see it from beginning to end. Some of them take 10 minutes, some of them take 3 weeks to get resolved. And we have our 2 fire inspectors who do the fire inspections on the commercial businesses around town. They do all the fire inspections, sprinkler, fire alarm, anything associated with new construction, as well as the fraternity houses on campus. Types of inspections we have and the knowledge our inspectors have to know is vast. It's structural, it's electrical, it's mechanical, it's, understanding the grease traps, insulation, stairwell egress aspects. Here's just a list of the major types of inspections that we do. There are even more minor ones. So, our inspectors are extremely, have to, wide variety of knowledge to get their job done.
John, do you divide these up and give an inspector a third of this or a fifth of this?
All of our inspectors are cross-trained to a degree, but it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife. It does a lot of things great, but not everything. So our inspectors are kind of based on, we have some dedicated for electrical, some for plumbing, some for gas, and some for structural, fire, or a neighborhood. So they try to stay in their lanes, but when we're shorthanded due to someone being out or sick, the other ones will help pick it up. So it's, we try to keep them into their specialties. Inspections, we're projecting for the year 24,000 inspections by our inspectors. So they hit the ground running. Average day could be anywhere from 65 inspections up to 140 inspections. The weather lately has been keeping it a little lower, just because 2 inches of rain in an hour kind of messes up a job site. And so we'll get a lot of cancellations in the morning because the footings, the slab got a little too wet to be able to pour concrete or put the plumbing in. Our fire inspectors have been keeping busy. We're projecting the year 1,500 for the year, and their inspections can range from 10 minutes to 2-3 hours. This is one of those places where we have found educating people really pays off. If we take the little extra time to explain to the business owners or somebody why it needs to be fixed, we seem to have less times we have to go back to that particular business. Now, there's always more businesses to educate, but spending some time drastically helps.
So with the fire inspectors, so they inspect like fire alarms and things like that. Do they also inspect the fire hydrant?
The fire
Or is
hydrants
that
are
with the
done
fire
by the
department?
water board and the fire department.
Okay.
The fire inspectors are doing daycare inspections, senior citizen facilities. They do all the businesses to make sure they don't have block exits. They're not storing 30 gallons of gasoline next to their fireworks, just random things that we see. Sometimes it's amazing what they find. And so they make sure it's safe and taken care of.
So I got a question for the fire hydrant folks. All right.
Are you transferring the fire inspectors to the public safety? Is that what we heard?
Yes,
Yes.
I'm doing that. We were adding a fire marshal because we can have Chief Kane talk a little bit more on his presentation about it, but the entire fire department, you'll see them out at businesses doing inspections, and that's become inefficient with their volume of EMS calls that you're also going to see in his metrics, and there's a lot of reasons why we need to switch some things around. They do a great job in inspection services. It could have resided in either, but to John's business-friendly point, we try everything, but when you're wearing a shirt that says Auburn Fire versus inspection services, people feel differently about, it's the same people saying the same thing, same employees, just wearing a different shirt will make a huge difference in the attitude toward them.
So does your budget reflect a loss of these 2 people and then
The
public
budgets
safety?
are set with that way, Michelle, did we set it that way? Yes.
So when you say inspectors to fire, that's going away for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And-
This is current.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Our neighborhood inspectors, over the last year, they've, 63% of a lot of things they did was signs, banners, miscellaneous zoning ordinance enforcements. We had 1% unrelated complaints we responded to, 23% property maintenance, which could be junk in the yard. Overgrown vegetation was 9%, abandoned cars was 4%. Currently, we've got 88% that have been resolved. We got 12 active that we're still working on at this time.
I just got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Back on this slide. The property maintenance. So y'all go out and inspect property maintenance. So what exactly what is that? What does that mean?
It could be, there's junk in the front yard. Someone's got a collection of tires they've had in their yard for a while. It could be broken down lawnmowers, cars up on cinder blocks. The front porch of the house is falling off. House needs to be demolished. Those types of aspects.
So what do? You give them citations or?
No, we give them different violations have different time frames that they have to get it done by law. So we notify them it needs to be corrected. We do everything we can to get them to correct it. And if they can't, then we may have to take action to correct it, either by hiring somebody or we, unfortunately do sometimes have to write citations when it just isn't being taken care of. And then we let them go through the process of the courts.
Is that complaint driven?
Most of it is complaint. It is, when we do see things, we, go ahead and address it. Yeah, if we drive down the street and see 5 or 6 houses, grass overgrown, we'll go ahead and address it as we see it. It is only 2 people. We can't make every neighborhood all the time. So they stay pretty active.
Enough before you hit Cox Road again.
Okay. And kind of to put some of all this stuff in kind of a understandable, this last year, we inspected over 1,200 water heaters installed. We looked at over almost 2,000 bathrooms, 2,500 bedrooms. We got about 70 permits in the queue on average that we're looking at. 1,200 electrical meters, 3,800 tons of HVAC. The Astrodome takes like 6,000 tons, so that's a lot of air conditioning. 54,000 electrical plugs we inspected. We tested every single one of them. If you ask our inspectors, they now realize why their back hurts. And 4,898,000 square feet of structures were built last year. And so one of the things, going back to our key accomplishments of trying to use technology, keeping track of where we stand on a daily basis, weekly, monthly, yearly, fiscal year, to understand, are we falling behind somewhere? Where do we have some bottlenecks? Where can we improve things on a live basis and a historical to work on things? These numbers are representational. They actually don't represent any particular time frame or anything. Just, you might see 180,000 inspections. That was not this year. We'd need a few more people if it was that many. So that kind of wraps it up. If you've got any questions, I'm more than welcome.
I'd like to say I appreciate the work you do, John. I think you do
Thank
an
you.
absolutely wonderful job considering what the amount of help you have. I know it's busy, but I do appreciate your efforts.
Well, we got a lot of good people. I appreciate it. I'll let them know.
Thank you, John. I don't know how you get it all done, man.
Yeah, both John and Dan are very much metrics department heads, and they track numbers carefully for what they do, and it's helpful. We're going to roll into economic development while I tease about some pictures. Philip's so busy recruiting industries and generating revenue for the city, that part doesn't matter. I think that the big part here is the economic development team does much. It generates tons of revenue. It's a lot of what funds our schools, and very important to everything we do. And while you saw some unusual statistics in our citizen survey about it, I don't think they're accurate at all, because our citizens don't understand what goes on with industry in Auburn, and we're working to tell a better story of that. But what it is doing is it's paying dividends to our local economy and employing a ton of people in a 5-county region, and that's very important. Philip.
Well, thank you, Megan. I appreciate that. And that's always nice to hear your boss say those kind words about me. I can't believe it.
Philip,
She gets even
we
with
hear
me.
it every day.
She gets even with me for 20 years. Anyway,
For sure.
thank you, council, for allowing me to come and present to you tonight. I always enjoy doing this. It gives me a chance to talk about what we do and what our team does every day. We've got a great bunch of folks working in economic development. And I'm really pleased with the level of professionalism and expertise. Being in a university community, we're able to get outstanding personnel to work for us. I mean, very seldom we ever find people with multiple master's degrees or engineering degrees, people like that working in your economic development operation, but we have those kind of people. And they make a real difference when you're sitting in a meeting with a CEO across the way from you. That makes a huge difference. So, is this the button here? No, okay, I'm trying to do something with it. I'll try to launch into this and go through some, and save some time if you have some questions. I think the key accomplishments this year are very straightforward. You see them periodically on your agenda. This year, we've already had 9 major expansions, 3 new locations. I'll expand on some more information on that in a few minutes. We work a number of projects in different sectors. The goal for us, we really have 2 basic metrics. If we're successful, we create jobs and taxes for the city. Now, there are a lot of other spin-off activities that occur in our effort, but those are primarily what we do. Another major thing we did this year is we successfully applied, we talked about earlier, I think in an earlier presentation to you, about Grow Alabama, which we did. I think that was in last year's budget. This year we have a seeds grant, a major seeds grant. Those 2 combined resulted in us leveraging almost a little over $6 million in state funding. And the new parks being built are being built utilizing massive grant support from the state of Alabama, and I'm very pleased with that. So we have currently under development around 280 acres. Megan told me I probably should have had some pictures, but it would have been a beautiful picture of some woods and a road. And so what I'd rather do is when we're ready is take you out there and show you that stuff. I think you'll be impressed with the amount of sites that we're bringing online to allow us to continue to recruit. And again, that when I talk about seeds, we put in matching funds to do that. So on our industrial side, we're moving, and I have no doubt we'll be very, very successful, continue to be. The next area, we basically have 3 groups at work. We're a small department, but we have industrial recruiting, a focus on that, workforce development, a focus on that, and our newest group is Andrea by herself. Hopefully we're going to try to assign some folks to give her more help. But we're doing a lot on entrepreneurial and technology, working with the university. That is a major issue that we see more and more we need to support, and we're going to continue to do that. But in our workforce, we've developed, you probably saw this on the front page of the newspaper for while we had a newspaper. It used to say "Work in Auburn" at the bottom. That's a campaign that we have on social media, and it has been highly successful. We have all of our industries are participating with us, listing job opportunities, and that's been a real winner. And more importantly, from a psychological standpoint, the companies that we work with, they see that as a major effort on the part of the city to support them in getting a quality workforce. And you can't undersell that to show that you're a true partner with someone trying to find the people in today's market that can help them produce their product. That's very, very important and we've seen that over and over. We've continued to do strategic work in social media. We built out a skills program. One of the things that I think you'll really like, we spend a lot of time working with veterans. We make a regular visit over, I think, public safety goes with us when we visit Fort Benning. We made an effort to try to transition military personnel into our workforce, and I'm very, very proud of that. I think that's a really important accomplishment for us. The next item here that I'm also very, very proud of is, whoops, I hit the wrong button here. I'm very terrible technology-wise. Is we've been partnering with GE Aerospace. We have built a complete additive training center. They donated close to $2.5–3 million worth of additive machines, and that's not a small deal. And we're getting ready to kick off our very first class in training people to work in additive manufacturing environment. We're doing it. In the community college, they have a program there, but it's primarily in plastics. We're working in powdered metals. So this is very, very important technology. You're going to see this happen more and more in the future. And I think when we have an opportunity, when we tour the ACDI complex, I'll talk about that more in a minute on something else. We'll take opportunity to visit the additive center as well. I think you'll be impressed with that. And of course, our workforce guys, we've done many job fairs, coordinated 4 of those. Another program that I'm very pleased with, and some of you can relate to this. I know Ron can. I came to Auburn in '84. We had 4 companies here. Opelika had a lot more, but we had 4. And if you graduated from Auburn, there were 2 things that you could count on. Probably got a pretty good education, right, Ron?
Absolutely.
The second thing, you wasn't going to find a job here. So if you graduated from Auburn here and you were a young person, you went somewhere else to get a job, and you see that throughout. Today, we've created a lot of opportunity where young people graduate from university here and they can find a job here. This next program is a major effort through Economic Development Partnership of Alabama, the state, us, Opelika's involved, Montgomery. It's called the FIELD program, and the whole idea behind this is to take prospective university students and acquaint them with opportunities in our market, in our area. Why, if they're graduating, why they should stay here, what opportunities they have to be successful. I think that's very important and something we should continue to market. You're seeing some of the larger markets like Mobile, others, actually have a talent person on their staff. And we don't need that. I think we've got that well handled with our workforce guys, but you're seeing that more and more. The key thing for any company is the ability to find people with the appropriate skills to win. It's not easy to do that. We also have a very strong partnership, and we've continued to maintain that with the public school system. We have the training program, the machining training program in the public schools is with us. And I see that as a major effort with the new high school coming on. Anything that we can do to ensure very close relationship with the school system and with our workforce and industrial effort is very important. And we need to continue to push career tech. I think it is a winner for the future.
And Philip, aren't y'all increasing the number of students out of high school who have certifications that can go right into the job force without even going to college if they choose
That's
not
right.
to?
One of the great things about that program, those classes are articulated classes. And so if a kid goes to one of those, that machining program, they can earn credits at Southern Union. So when they go into Southern Union, they get trained as a machinist. Well, when they come out as a machinist, they're going to have an entry-level job a lot higher than someone with relatively no skills. At the same time, we're looking at them on how to emphasize soft skills, being at class, being work, those kind of things. So those are important things, and I agree. And that really is an important area that we're targeting. All right, let's see the next. The next area is entrepreneurial activity. As I said, Andrea Mitchell is doing this. This is a relatively new effort, but she has hit the ground running doing this. She is working her can off to see the renovations at ACDI. You can see how we're upskilling, upgrading the facades and the look of ACDI. She's partnered with a lot of the entrepreneurial, the New Venture Accelerator at AU. We have a partnership with them. She's pushing our incubator in 1500 Pumphrey Avenue. We've developed additional funding through EDPA, through Innovate. We've got some money from them. And we're planning a new building that will be targeted towards towards entrepreneurial type activity. So it's very important. So I think we'll continue to emphasize those programs, and I think you see even more growth in that area. So quickly, just bumping over to key metrics. I come back and add this. We've had, as I said, 9 company expansions, 3 new installations. This year, that represents an investment of $591 million so far this current fiscal year. That's over 250 new and retained jobs. And when Megan talks about generating funding, One thing that's not up there, I could give you the 10-year totals, but typically those jobs represent annually new payrolls being injected in the economy of 11.3 million just in those projects. And then on taxes, they generate over 2.7 million annually in taxes from all sources, both for schools and the general fund. So think about when you do that over a 10-year period, that's a chunk of money.
And you're including abatements in that, so
I'm
that's
including
that's
stuff
the
that might
numbers
be
with
abatement.
abatements.
That's correct. This is direct revenue, direct and indirect revenue coming to the city. Some of it goes to the schools, but the majority of this goes straight to, it goes to our general fund. And when you look at the total payrolls, I know when I came to Auburn in '84, I think we were generating or slightly under $1 million in occupational tax for the city. The university didn't have that big an enrollment. In industry, we had 800 people in industry, so we really weren't recruiting. The last time I checked, I think we're close to 240 million in payrolls in our industrial sector. Now, you think about that, that's almost 2.5, 2.6 million in occupational taxes alone. And those payrolls, that 240, 250 million in payrolls, that turns over where approximately 30% of that, even adjusting for leakage, is spent for goods and services in our market. So you start thinking about why it's important to create a primary economic generator like industry, because that's what you have to drive your economy. Major university, airports, major regional hospitals, military bases, are industry. Industry creates wealth. The only time retail throws off a tremendous amount of taxes, and we got to continue doing that. But it's not necessarily what we call a primary generator unless you're in a tourist area. And you're down there on the coast. But it's absolutely important that we concentrate and recruit the right kind of commercial. I mean, one of the most significant projects we've done in a long time, and I'm not saying this, Megan did a great job with this, I'm not saying because of, was Buc-ee's. You think about Buc-ee's, a big glorified gas station is a cash cow, trust me. It's every time I go by there, I hum ka-ching. It's unbelievable what's happening there. So it is great. So when you go back, you look at as far as industrial, I think we're doing our job there. And I won't say what, because if I told you, I'd have to kill all of you. So, but we have a chance to have anywhere from 3 to 4 new announcements in the next 6 months. We're working on a number of projects, and let me leave it at this. Tariffs, in one sense, have been a good thing. We have a tremendous number of internationals looking to locate in the U.S., and we're showing to a lot of projects, and it's strictly because of tariffs. No question about it. We see that. So we're busy, as the former chairman of our industrial board used to say, we used to get a chuckle. Norm used to say, guy's busier than a one-armed paper hanger. And that's true. So we're working our can off in that respect. On workforce, you look at what they've done. They've hired over 1,000 employees through job fairs, generated 2,500 resumes through the Auburn campaign. We've received grants through EDPA to fund the fuel program, the aerospace, this career tech program. Those are all things we're doing in workforce. And of course, Andrea, hit the ground running and partnering with Guide. That's a partnership that's been created in the local economy. And just so you'll know, that's like Auburn Chamber, Opelika Chamber, AU, New Venture Accelerator, us, different centers at the university, Women's Job Corps. These are groups that they're partnering with to create and create opportunities to find jobs for people. And then, of course, SCORE, which if any of you know, like an old guy like me knows about SCORE. It's senior business executives that are retired that are out mentoring and helping. She's established our first core relationship, partnering with them, partnered with EDPA, and of course different projects through ACDI. And we've got right now about 14 different companies with 40 employees in our incubator complex. All right, what did I do? Did I mess that up? Yeah, I think I did. That's it. All right. I got it pretty quick.
In a while, that's right.
Yeah. So any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
I just again want to say thank you for the job you do, Philip. I remember when I think you first come here, our only industrial parks were Macmillan and Pumphrey Lane. and you really added to that through your hard work, and I've seen you work very hard through the years, and it's appreciated, not only by citizens of Auburn, but throughout the connecting counties. We provide a lot of jobs. I can remember when Briggs and Stratton came in, everybody was excited about that, and even in Chambers and Lee and Macon,
Yeah.
a lot of different counties, people find jobs, and that means a lot.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, Tommy, but at the end of the day, I'll tell you this right now, it all starts with you guys. If you don't appropriate the resources and allow the city manager to give us the resources, we're not gonna win. Now, our job is, I'm terrible when it comes to pictures, Megan nailed me on that, but one thing I can do, I can sit across from a CEO of a Fortune 500 company and tell him why this is the right place to invest. I can guarantee you that, because that's what it's all about. What we have to be able to do, we have to have the staff in place, and it starts with our leadership that can market this community and can show a person why this is the right place to invest. It's not as simple as they think. And anybody that tells you, oh, Auburn's a great place, let's go invest there. Remember, particularly when we're working with a European, we're talking to a guy that does his vacations on the Riviera. It's not like he hadn't been to some cool places in his life. What we have to show is why this is the right place to invest and make money. That's the simple bottom line. So I appreciate all the support you've given me. Any other questions? I'll try to answer those. Anything else?
I particularly appreciate the work that you do focused on a relationship with our university. I think that's a really super example of, the synergy of different entities getting together and finding some common ground for the betterment of the town in general. So I really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And we do have some things we're working on with them. I didn't go into detail because we're still working on those, but I think it's very important to say Megan's leadership and willingness to support our staff and spending a lot of time on trying to bring a couple of really interesting things online. It could be really great news for us. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. And thank you very much we got a new staff person. We needed it for our ACDI complex. I'm looking forward to when we have a chance to tour that. I think you'll be impressed with where we're going to do training and where we're going to do recruitment.
We have a new location for some work sessions that'll mix some things up too, which would be nice, so.
I think you'll enjoy going there. Thank you very much. Anything else? I don't want to cut
In the
anybody
economic
off.
development world, if you're not first, you're last, or we say they're,
Well, I learned that from Ricky Bobby.
second place is first loser, and that
You're not first,
doesn't
you're
work,
last.
that's right. So,
That's it.
thank you, Philip.
Thank
Thank
y'all.
you, Philip.
Chief Kane's gonna come up and do Auburn Fire. I'll just tell you, we're just gonna bump the work session a little bit later. I wanna be sure that you have ample time with both police and fire to talk through these, and I don't want these gentlemen to rush. They have great information to tell you, and I know you may have some questions. Also to clarify to Councilman Griswold's question, the new fire marshal is in the fire budget right now, and org chart, but the two people are currently residing in the inspection services budget that are the fire inspectors, and they will be moved over, and we will adjust that at a later date if the budget is adopted.
All right. Thank you, Megan. So John Langford didn't have a bad 24 and 25. He didn't lose all his hair and start wearing glasses. I'm the new fire chief. So just wanted to take a minute and just say, how honored I am just to be here for the first time and to be a representative of the city at this level. And then just how humbled I am to get to speak to you about the great department that I'm just a part of. So thank you for that opportunity. So I'll just jump right into some key accomplishments. Try not to take up too much time here, but we have significantly expanded upon our advanced life support capabilities, and this is a big project that the city manager has been working with previous administration on, and I've been heavily involved in it. It's been extremely successful. I wish I had time to talk to you about all the good stories I hear from citizens and the impacts that we're making positively on their lives every day. It's been a great thing, and just looking back, we placed a new rescue truck in service. I got to show that to you guys at council last fall. It's been a great unit for us to have. We've got 12 firefighters that earned their paramedic over the last year. That brings our total up to 32. So this program's really taken off. The crews have bought in. They've been going through some really great training. To get their paramedic license, they're having to do that for 2 years. So that's a big commitment on their part. It's time away from their families. You know, a lot of these guys aren't college students anymore. They're grown-ups. You know, they're well into life, and they're taking time out to take on that certification to provide a better service for our community. So it's a big deal. We've got 7 more enrolled currently in this fall. Moving on to just our transports, you know, it's not a figure that we look to increase every year. This is something we're providing as a supplemental service. So we're at 22 for this fiscal. And then over the last year, we were able to stand up a couple more ALS units. So Engine 2 is now ALS capable, and that runs over off the Shug Jordan site. And so we've got engines 1, 2, and 3, and then Rescue 1 is temporarily running at this time. So 4 units running in our advanced life support service. We also developed a tactical paramedic team to run along with APD on the SWAT side. So they've integrated well. They went through all of the same SWAT school, SWAT training that the APD officers did, and just were a great asset to add to the city force. And it was really a big move to get us more working alongside APD, and it's been just a big benefit to just, you know, move up and down the hallway in a little bit more frequent manner, and to have those two teams working together. So we're looking to expand that. Right now we have 3 paramedics on staff with them, just, you know, helping them out when needed, and then we look to grow that to 6, so to be the full build out over there. We've mentioned it in a couple other presentations, but the Public Safety Training Center has been just a great asset. We use it all the time. It's up and fully operational now. We continue to develop it. You know, it's not done yet, but we do have our drill tower. Obviously, is complete. The burn building's done. We're using both of them. Our search and rescue maze inside the Connex boxes, if you've been out there, it's well underway, and it's getting near an end. We look to be finishing that up soon. The classroom has been great. I'll show you a slide where we brought in some national speakers already, and we've hosted regional trainings. It's been a great asset. One of the things that we did over the last 3 years, and this was a big buy-in from you guys, our previous administration, saw the need, and we were able to convert some student firefighter positions over to full-time, and we did that through 9 per year, totaling out to 27. And what that did was just kind of facilitate a more technically trained staff full-time that was able to, you know, career orient and be involved with progressing through their careers in our department. And then it just drastically increased the stability in our staffing to where we didn't have to worry about class times as much, and so much coming and going and keeping our minimums on our trucks. So that was a big conversion, and we were able to complete that over the last year. So moving on to just our fire service demands, just our regular stuff. This gets into the numbers a little bit more. You know, that stat can pretty much just stay stamped on this slide every year, but busiest call volume in history. I mean, it kind of just goes with the territory. Each year our call numbers go up. As we look at our run numbers, we're going to hit that 8,000 mark just any year now. So it's creeping up real close to that this year at 7,700. I added a new metric in there, just patient contacts, and kind of why I thought that was important was, you know, every one of these patient contacts, whether it be a medical call, maybe it's a motor vehicle accident where it's not actually a patient, we still have to deal with the citizen in that situation, to citizen assist where it's a lift assist, where we're just simply going and providing a service for them. Those are interactions that our people make with a member of our community every day. So, you know, almost 6,000 times we're having those interactions, and most all of them are positive. So we're getting out into the public, and we're making an impact daily, you know, one-on-one, and that's something that a lot of people don't see, is that we're doing that every day, all day. So I thought that was a good metric. We were able to pull that out through the data. And then just, you know, training, we're always doing training. I pulled out just some actual certifications we got. You know, each one of these classes is 40 hours. So we did 82 fire college certifications. We've started sending people to the National Fire Academy, and that's up in Maryland. So we sent 12 of our officers up there over the last year. They're getting some great knowledge to bring back from, you know, national fire speakers and bring that back to our community. And then again, hosted the 2 fire service leaders at the Public Safety Training Center, and we were able to bring in some other departments as well. So that's been a nice asset to be able to do. Our ALS capabilities, you know, our interventions are going up. So last year we had 505, and basically what this is, more than the BLS service that we traditionally were able to provide. This is actually going in and being able to do medications, IV therapy, advanced cardiac monitoring, things that we, up until 2 years ago, have never been able to do. So we're seeing that number double, and that's as we add more units into service, and as we get more paramedics trained, this number is going to continue to rise. And simply put, that is basically demanding that our citizens get the best service that they can get. We're not going to settle for, waiting anymore. That we're just going to make sure our people can do it, and we're going to give them the best service right when they call 911. So it's been a great program, and again, I love hearing the comments back from the public on that. We also do our life safety inspections and inspection services. John talked about it a little bit, and I'm happy to expand on that if you'd like to. But, we do almost 1,000 of those this year. And then, of course, our public education events, just our, fire drills, dorm drills, truck displays, the station tours, all the things we do on a daily basis to get out into the public. So a couple hundred of those. And diving a little bit more into the metrics, we break down our call volume. Clear to see the outlier there. We're still very predominantly running EMS calls, and that's 70% of what we do. So looking at the total fires, that just goes, it could be anything on fire, essentially anything we extinguish, from vehicle fires to brush fires to house fires. And then actually involving the structure, where it could be anything from a pot on the stove that goes into the cabinets all the way up to a full-blown house fire. 44 of those over the last year. And then again, heavily involved in EMS, over 5,000 of those runs. One thing I did want to look at, and and John actually said it great in his presentation, was that spending a little bit of extra time with some of these business owners, and in our case for the EMS totals there, we went into a nursing home and we were able to speak with management. What we found was, over a 4-month stretch, we'd gone to 87 false activations from medical alarms. And a lot of it was just education on the people. They didn't know how to use the systems, and then the management didn't even know it was happening because it was happening after hours. So we actually sent staff in, we trained them, we helped them identify the problem, and we saw a 50% reduction in that over the next 4 months. So we eliminated 40 calls just by going and having a conversation with them.
That's an alarm it's hardwired into a nursing home type deal?
It would be like a pendant, like a life alert that you'd wear on your neck.
Gotcha.
or something like that. They implemented a new system in that particular facility.
Gotcha.
So same thing with the fire alarm system there. One of the things I wanted to highlight on that metric was, as our call volume has increased over the last year, one thing we've been actively trying to do and working closely with the fire inspectors is we go out and we find these nuisance alarms where we're continuously going to reactivations for malfunctions, and we're trying to get ahead of it. And we'll go have a conversation with them, talk about the need to fix it and how many times we've responded out there. So what we're actually seeing is a decrease in our fire alarm responses, but our overall call volume is still going up. So basically what that means is we're going to more of the calls we need to be going to and less of the ones that we don't need to be going to. So it's just taking a little bit of diving into the data and getting out and being proactive with it. So very, leaning heavily on our inspection services division for that. So just working together on that. It's been great. Another one is our technical responses. I actually pulled my last slide out just to talk about that a little bit more, because that's a metric that I specifically dove into. Typically when we look at our call volume, it's fire, EMS, false alarms, and then the other category. So I tried to break up that other a little bit more. Still have the miscellaneous, which catches, the cat in the tree calls, everything else. So, so this was the slide I mentioned before, the last one. I just pulled that technical response out and kind of broke it down a little bit more for you, because I felt like it was really important. Forever we were catching these calls in other or categories that we couldn't really expound upon, because when you put it on a graph, it was that 1% that didn't really make any sense, or you looked over. But what's inside of that is a lot of technical calls that require a lot of additional training. It requires very intricate knowledge of the building, expanded time on scene, very high risk, low frequency type stuff. So I broke it down into one that I pulled out of there was elevator rescues. We're seeing, with the amount of development in town, we're seeing lots of elevators, and with that is becoming problems with elevators. So we ran 89 so far over the last year, and that's at all hours of the night. We're putting people in elevator shafts on rope systems to go down and pull people out through cars. And it could go from anywhere from 30 minutes on scene to 3 hours on scene. So rather than just capture that into another category, we're investing a lot of time and energy and training into that. So I thought that this would be a good.
Is that a
metric to show you
behavior
guys.
challenge, Chief?
Some of it is, yes, sir. Yeah. Some of it is operator error, you could say.
Was that also addressed in your nice video recently about don't jump in elevators?
It did. Yes, our social media has been doing great.
I do think this is something I've been talking to Director Matthews about as well. I see call volume coming in. We're getting certain days of the week. We get a few more calls than others. We were at a structure fire recently, a minor fire, and then we had to pivot 2 blocks over to deal with an elevator rescue. And so we will be reaching out to some of our frequent call locations and having some more chats with them about why this is happening.
Generally, there's a phone in an elevator and it goes to you.
Some of them are set up that way. Some of them go to the elevator company. Some of them go to the management office. Some of them go directly to 911. So
What's your response time?
depending on where it is, we try to get downtown pretty quick if there's people in it.
And the one I'm referring to the other night, they were at an adjacent structure fire, and 20 minutes from the time the call came in, they had gotten 15 people out of an elevator. So they work as fast as they can.
Sometimes it's extremely delayed getting to us if it's routed through the elevator company or routed through management, property management, then it comes to us. And then sometimes people just call us on the cell phone. We've actually gotten plenty of calls to the station from somebody on the cell phone inside an elevator. Hey, I've been stuck in here for 20 minutes. And, so it's a new challenge. We didn't really go over that in recruit school 20 years ago. So this is something we're kind of learning on the fly, but we're actually doing really well with it. So. But that's all I had, so I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. And again, just thank you for allowing me to be here and be the person that gets to talk to you about my great department.
Chief Kane, real quick, do you want to talk about the 6 firefighters you requested
Absolutely.
from the response from ALS standpoint?
So yes, and I'm sure you guys have noticed it. It'll be in there for next year. We weren't quite ready with the number of paramedics we had to stand up the truck, but we feel very confident we'll have that over the next few months. So we asked for 6 firefighters for next fall, and basically it's to full-time staff that rescue truck that we mentioned before. It's running about 60% of the time right now. We try to run it, but it's completely staff driven. If we have good staffing for the day, we'll run it. If we don't, we can't. And what that'll do is just immediately provide some relief to the busiest truck in the city, to Station 1 downtown. It'll add another unit to our downtown corridor to help pick up some of these medical calls. And then it'll give us just 24-hour, 365 service for a transport unit if we need it.
I wanted to ask a question about the fire hydrants.
Yes, ma'am.
And I've been wanting to ask this ever since I was a little girl.
Well, I'm excited to be the one to answer it for you.
You know, I have passed by a fire hydrant and it's just running, water just running out of it. So I guess that's a fire inspection?
It likely would be. The water board should probably be very close by if that's happening.
I
see
somebody
one
probably,
running,
there.
Yes, ma'am.
But I was just wondering, what determines when y'all do an inspection and the water and lets the water out, and what's the purpose of it? I mean, is it because what?
So each fire hydrant gets touched at least 2 times in the city, and there's 3,600 fire hydrants. So we work in conjunction with the water board to get different pressure tests off of it. We also flush those hydrants, which is what they use it for, is to flush the lines a lot of times, to flush out those water mains. But we use the data, they use the data, and then we also keep the maintenance and keep the paint and the reflection on there so that we can tell how many gallons per minute are inside the hydrant.
So how often is that? How often do you do
Twice
it?
a year.
Twice a year?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever did the one on Williams Avenue?
Twice a
I
year.
bet, twice a year.
It's been a few minutes
wondering.
since I flushed a hydrant, but yeah, I mean, I could have. I spent a
I'm
lot of
just
time over
wondering,
there.
because it's at the end of the street, so I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
wonder where's all that water gonna go?
So they do run deflectors typically to try to, years ago they washed a lot of flower beds away before they figured out the best way to do it, but they try to deflect it into the streets, which runs into the storm drain. If they just let it fly, a lot of times it gets in places it doesn't need to go. So the water board does handle a lot of those flow data. We typically get static data off of them now, so we don't flow the water anymore.
Okay, I just been wanting to ask that question ever since I was probably about 9 or 10 years old. So, okay, 55 years later.
It's a good question because it actually has a purpose. People think it doesn't, but it does, and it's twofold. It's pressure test plus flushing the water mains, as he said. And the more like a dead end line at the end of Williams, sometimes water can sit down in there and they need to flush it out, and make sure it's circulating. So, yep.
Okay, so next time y'all flush William Williams, make sure I'm at home so I can watch it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I'll come knock on the door.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other questions for
questions?
Chief Kane?
Yeah, Chief, you're gonna add a fire marshal,
Yes, sir.
and the 2 inspectors that are coming over from inspection services are gonna be under the fire marshal?
That's correct.
What else will the fire marshal be doing?
So the fire marshal is really going to allow us with that to move that entire process under the fire department. So it's really aiming to kind of streamline the operations of, our inspection services to go into each business, each school, being able to be efficient at it. Because what we're finding right now is in operations, we try to go out every day and do these plans, up to 1,500 a year roughly is what we try to get to. We haven't made it that far yet this year because we're going in scheduling these things and we're running 2 or 3 calls, and what that does is it interrupts their business as well. It doesn't just interrupt our day. We're going in, we're not being able to complete the inspection, we're getting a call, we're leaving, we're trying to come back, finish the inspection, getting another call, and we're leaving. And so we're interrupting the business owner's day as well. Having a common source that can kind of manage that program is the goal of it, is to keep us from going back. And then inspection services is also coming in and following up with them, so they're really getting bombarded with both us and them when we can streamline that into
They're also
a common
doing
place.
burn permits and
Correct.
then occupancy inspections and
right.
some other things.
And investigations as well, though we're aiming to have them help us with fire investigations as well.
Will his role extend into plan review
Currently-
for building plans?
Yeah, they'll maintain everything that the
Or
fire
his or her,
inspectors
I'm
are
sorry.
doing right now, and they'll oversee that process. So, yes, sir.
Organizationally, will that be another department under you? Because you've got training and admin and then all the actual
Yes, sir.
firefighters.
My goal would be
separate.
to have its own branch. Yes, sir.
So you're gonna add a branch and then 2 people under,
That's correct.
so, okay. Who would that person normally report, those 2 people report to now, if you didn't add another supervisor?
If the fire marshal wasn't created, is that what
Right,
you're saying?
right.
So we would have to put them in their own.
Yeah, I don't plan to
Yeah, I
move
don't know
them
that
if the fire
that's-
marshal position is not created. They'll stay in inspection
Yeah,
services.
I think that would be.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to thank you for the job you're doing with your paramedic program. I thank Megan for helping get this started. I thank this council for voting on it to get that there. I had to use it several times the past couple of years with my dad, and you guys were unbelievable. You got there first, you got on the scene, you assessed the situation. But the most important thing, you made us feel special. You made us feel like we mattered to you, and it's an unbelievable job. I'm an old police officer, but I never thought I'd speak so well of the fire department, but it's a mark it down, it's unfair.
Thanks, Chief.
It was so good. My daddy, one of his ambulance rides, he didn't like to ride ambulance. He didn't like to ride the interstate. And he would argue with him, which way y'all going, interstate or Shelton Road? And he'd say interstate. But anyway, he come back and he told me, he said, that fire medic that not rode with us in the ambulance was unreal. He just bragged on him and bragged on him and bragged on him. But you had to come out there several times, and every time he was just so nice and helped get Dad loaded up. Fortunately, the last time he took him, he didn't make it back, but he took a detour and went to a better spot.
That's right.
But I want to thank you personally. I've seen it from both sides, and it's unbelievable the difference in the medical service you get now from the fire department. And I can't thank you enough.
Yes, sir.
You really made my family in a hard time feel special, and you feel like you really cared. I know you did, but
Yeah.
so many times officers forget and firefighters forget that they're dealing with people. And if you make them feel special, that takes care of a lot of your problems you don't have later on. So I thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart.
It's good to hear that, and I appreciate it. I mean, that's the message that we drive every day, is that it's not just a task, it's a person on the other side of that call.
Exactly.
And we don't settle for anything other than just the best professional service.
Well, you're
And I
doing
make that very clear.
You're doing a good job, Chief. Keep
Thank
it
you.
up.
Thank you. I
Thanks,
appreciate
Chief.
that.
And I want to echo Tommy on that too, because I had to use you a couple of times also. And you did a wonderful job. It just be so many of y'all come. And I got my legs stuck between some wood. I don't know if you was in with that crew or not.
Actually, believe it or not, I think it was.
And I'm thinking maybe 2 or 3 of you all gonna show up Well, it was probably, it looked like about 20 of y'all and about 20 people from the Auburn Police Department and everything. And I'm thinking to myself, are y'all gonna bring all these people?
Because you're.
Well, you don't think you're worth it?
Is that the reason?
Of course.
They can't do without you.
But thank you though.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all do excellent service.
Well, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Chief
Yeah.
King.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, guys.
And mark it down, Megan. Kanye actually agreed with me on something, so it must be.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
On
don't
the
have to mark it
opposite
down.
end of the,
That's right. And the last of our departments to go, but certainly not least, is Chief Anderson, and he loves to be called Chief Anderson. So Cedric, as I call him usually, but he's Chief Anderson here. He has some great information for you as well, and he's going to talk a lot also about some things that they have been doing, but also some budgetary items of what new things you're going to be doing with some budgeted items. So,
Yes.
all right, thank you.
All right, good evening.
Evening.
Good evening.
Before I say anything, I just want to reflect on something somebody told me not too long ago, really wise fella. He said, folks are not going to remember much of anything you say when you do a presentation, but they'll remember the first thing and they'll remember the last thing. So the first thing I want to tell you is you have an outstanding police department. I'm not saying it because I'm a part of it. I'm saying it because the facts support it. I tell people all the time, don't listen to me when I tell you that. I encourage people to go and do the research themselves. You look up other police department, like-sized police departments, not just in the state but in the area, and you compare them to the Auburn Police Department, and very few will measure up. So I encourage you to take some time on your own to sit and really research and review how well your police department is doing. You have an outstanding police department. That's the first thing I want to tell you, so please remember that. So, let's get started.
You know, Chief, most of us already knew that.
Well, I just wanted to say it again, so everybody was clued in, and to encourage you to do that research, because again, it means something different when you see it for yourself.
Thank you.
So, as far as the Auburn Police Department goes, we're doing what we always do. We're providing the best quality service to the citizens of Auburn that we possibly can. That is important to us. We don't want to onboard or hire anybody here that gives us any indication that they can't go out and represent the city and represent the department in a way that meets the standards that have been set and maintained over the years. So recruitment is one of our big missions, one of our big goals. It's something we take really serious, and we invest a lot of time and energy in doing it. A lot of people don't realize, but just in the last few years, the number of applications that have come in for the position of police officer, despite what's going on around the country, has really been a huge number. We have, in the last 3 years, seen close to 800 applications for the position of police officer. Now, we have not interviewed that many people, of course. A lot of them get weeded out throughout the process, so the number that actually comes to the final interview is a lot less than that number. But that many people think enough of the Auburn Police Department to at least take time to fill out a application to have an opportunity to wear that uniform and be a part of this organization. That is because of what you guys do. You give us the support we need to go out and do the job and provide that service, and people see that, they recognize it, and they want to be a part of that. So with our recruitment and retention, we're doing some things with technology moving forward that I think will help us. There's a program as part of what a system the city already uses, NeoGov. It's called Power DMS, and that is a technology that we hope will help streamline our process. It will speed it up. It'll help with the background checks. This technology will be able to go in once we get the final group from any recruitment pool down to a manageable number. It will go in and scrub social media sites and help us with their background checks and find things that just the two people we have assigned to the recruitment section ordinarily wouldn't be able to find. So again, it's something that we take serious. We want to onboard the best people possible because it costs a lot. We don't want to be poor stewards of the taxpayers' money. We want to make sure that the people we onboard are gonna be people that are gonna stick around and be able to do the job we've hired them to do. We're going to continue to research and evaluate technologies. That is one of the things that we've recognized over the last few years that is changing the game, so to speak, when it comes to law enforcement. This technology makes us more efficient on our jobs. It gives us the ability to do things that we weren't able to do years ago, especially in the way that we analyze and assess data and intelligence. As far as our law enforcement training goes, this year we held the first SWAT school. We've never hosted and put on a SWAT school before, but we got permission from the state to start doing that. We're getting ready to host the second one next month, very successful schools. And this is part of our process of us as establishing ourselves as a training hub. That is something we want to do moving forward. We want people to know that, Auburn is a place you can come to get good training. Eventually, we're hoping that the efforts we're making as far as our training efforts go will help us to establish a police academy right here in Auburn, Alabama. We also got permission here not long ago to host a investigative school. So we're going to have investigators being trained from around the state, being trained here at the Auburn Police Department before long, and that's something that we're extremely proud of. And of course, we continue to do things as far as our community outreach goes. Just here in the last month, we did the National Night Out. It was very successful. And we continue to do other things with the Housing Authority and other partners throughout the community to reach the community and let them know we're not just people wearing a uniform out here enforcing laws, but we're people who live next door to you. We're people that care enough about you to come out and take our time often to see about your needs and to just be a part of the community. So some of our numbers. It sounds hard to believe, but in 2024, there were 206,000 plus police activities or calls for service. I know that sounds like a lot, but these guys do a lot every day. So wrap your mind around that 206 police activities. As far as business and residential checks, they went up this year by over 2,200. We had 40,000 residential checks, and we did over 81,000 business checks. Those are the things you probably don't think about police officers doing, but they're always out here. They're always rolling. Even when you see them, you think, oh, they're just riding by. They're not doing anything. There's something they're doing every minute of every day to make this city safe and to provide a quality service. As far as our traffic stops go, you heard the judge say the other day that there were 22,000 traffic citations issued last year in the city of Auburn. Well, the other side of that is there was over 33,000 traffic stops made. That's up by almost 8,000 traffic stops over the previous year. We accredit that to the fact that we're using our motors more now to get out and enforce traffic laws and do traffic enforcement, and they're also tasked with working traffic accidents, which takes the burden off of the other patrol officers who can then go out and focus on providing calls for service and other police services to the citizens. Our arrests, despite the growth that we're seeing in Auburn, pretty much stayed level, and so did our traffic accidents. They did not go up significantly at all. I think arrests went up by 8 in 2024 as opposed to 23, and our traffic accidents only went up by 18. When you consider the number of new students that are attending Auburn University and the growth that this city is seeing, I think that's pretty impressive that we didn't see a huge spike or a huge increase in those numbers. Finally, our extra duty details. We worked over 18,000, almost 19,000 hours of extra duty jobs. That's up, over 700 hours from last year. That's not what we do every day. That's in addition to what we do every day. Over 18,000 hours of overtime work. So with the university, we continue to work very closely with them. In the last year, they received a grant to assist with threat assessment, and what this grant is designed to do is not just do a threat assessment for what's going on the campus, but throughout Lee County. So all the stakeholders and partners that the university has throughout the county, they are assisting them with this
this process, and we're a part of it. We helped and gave input on the grant application itself, and we've kind of been in lockstep with them this whole way, trying to make sure that this program is successful, because anything that threatens that university, anything that threatens that campus, it threatens the city as well. We continue to provide outreach to the students on campus. We participate in the Camp War Eagle sessions every year. We continue to teach RAD on campus, and in the last couple of months we've had 2 occasions to go over and teach the CRAZE training. CRAZE training is the new version of the run, hide, fight that they used to teach years ago. This is just a updated version of that, and we actually have the folks on the university campus now reaching out, different departments, asking us to come over and to teach them what to do in the case of an emergency like that. One of the other things we did on campus here just a little over, well, hadn't been over a month ago, is we had a full-scale exercise over there simulating an active shooter in the arena, and that went really well. So we're doing a lot of things to partner with the university and other stakeholders that have an interest in the campus and keeping that community safe. And we're doing all that we can and hoping that we can do more of that kind of training in the future. So heaven forbid it ever gets to a point where we have something like that take place over there, our folks will be prepared. They'll know what to expect and have some idea of how they're to respond and what the responsibilities are going to be for all of us. And we also work with them as far as the messaging. A lot of times you may get notifications on your phone, the timely warnings and those messages that come out about certain incidents that have happened on and around campus. Typically, we collaborate with those and kind of help and assist them with what should and what should not be included in those messages. And so we work really well together in that regard as well. So as far as what we're continuing to look forward to is we're looking forward to getting a technology. It's Tyler Technologies. That's going to be our new records management system, our new CAD system, and provide us a new system for our case management. Tyler is much more advanced in the system that we're currently using. It's more user friendly, and the company actually will build it to specs. So we're able to tell them what it is we're wanting, what it is we're needing the system to do, and they will design it and build it for our needs. And I think that's going to be something we'll get a great deal of use out of, and it will streamline what we do when we need reports and things like that. It won't take days. It won't take hours to get those. It'll be just a few clicks of a button, a few clicks of a mouse, and those reports will be generated for us because of the way we have the system set up. We're also looking at a drone system, another drone system. This one is called Skydio. It will kind of work hand in hand what we already have. This company is going to be coming in this fall, and they're going to set us up a demo to show us how this system actually works. And what it does is the system launches itself automatically. It's already pre-programmed and set. There are certain calls that we're going to program this system to respond to, whether it's traffic accidents with injuries, whether it's gunshots, robberies, whatever we program it to respond to, it will automatically launch itself and respond to the coordinates for where the incident is taking place. Once it launches itself, we'll be able to see in real time, while the officers are still trying to respond, what the cameras on that drone, or the feedback is going to be coming on our computer screens in the vehicles and in the office, so we can sit in the office and see before officers ever get on scene what's taking place, and they can kind of assess what they need to do or what they don't need to do in order to either ramp up the response or dial it back. This is also going to be something that will help us when we're responding to missing persons, missing children, that kind of stuff. So before a unit can actually get on scene, this drone will be there and will be giving us the feedback we need to know how we need to approach the scene.
Chief, what would make it launch?
I don't understand.
Well, how does it know to launch?
Because we've already programmed the calls in. When calls for service come in, if it's a call for service that has been programmed into our computer system to notify the drone, it will, and that drone will launch itself automatically and go to the site. Officers will also have the ability, once they get close to the scene or get on scene, to remotely take over the drone, and they can then fly it themselves or make it do, whatever they need to do, go back to the launch pad or whatever.
So is it housed on the exterior of the building somewhere?
It is. What they suggest is that we find city buildings to mount the launch pad on top of, and it has to be high enough that it's not going to get interference with wires and that kind of stuff. But yeah, you set it on top of a building. It's self-contained, and whenever a call for service activates it, it's like a shed or shelter over it. It slides back. The drone takes off on its own, and yeah, it's something to see.
So this is also different technology. We won't own these units. They're more like a lease type arrangement,
Well,
a contractual.
Yes, and what they're doing this fall is just more or less the T&E. We're
Yep.
just yeah.
Is this photograph, is that the launch pad? Is that what's in this photograph?
Yes.
So that whole thing sits on a roof somewhere and then that drone comes up out of it?
Yes, it does.
Cool.
We're going to be giving this a try. We may ramp up budget for it later, but it doesn't reside in capital outlay for that reason, because it's more of a lease type project at this point right now, just in case you're looking for it. So
Okay, so continuing, we're wanting to look at a Southside precinct here over the next year or two, and that Southside precinct will predominantly be where we house the technology. We want to have a real-time crime center. We want to all this technology we're researching and investing in. We want to have a place to house that technology, and that will be one of the reasons, one of the functions for a Southside precinct. The other will be so visitors to Auburn on that end of town, once they get off the interstate, they will see a police presence. They will see a police department and know where they can go for help, where they can go for assistance. And it will be something to help people living on the south end of town not have to come all the way to the central part of town for any type of a police service to file reports, get copies of reports or whatever. So that is the reason for that. One of the things we would also like to include in a Southside precinct is an analyst. An analyst, I'm talking about a police analyst, not a forensic analyst. A lot of times people get those two confused. We currently have a police analyst. He's on loan to us from the National Guard, and the service that they provide is incredible. Here, not long ago, we had a double homicide. This analyst sat in the command post upstairs with us, and as we got information, as we got data, he was sitting there and he was scrubbing social media and doing some different things, researching, what he could, and he was able to tell us in real time while all this investigation was going on within just a few hours, where family members of the suspect lived, that the family was just, a couple of hours from the state line. If this guy was in this area, is there any crimes in this area that could possibly have been committed by him, anything that fit that description. He's able to pull all that stuff up. Eventually, he was able to tell us, well, hey, here's a list of hotels. We knew the guy was asking for money. He'd been begging for money, that kind of stuff. So somebody without money, where would these people likely stay? Well, he pulls up a list of hotels. Well, then he starts going through the hotels, and he's able to talk and communicate with the people who are on scene up in a neighboring state, and kind of guide them to where they need to be. And eventually, when we got to the hotel where the guy was staying, that analyst was able to start pulling up floor plans and telling us, well, hey, this is how this hotel is laid out. They do amazing stuff. They will be able to assist our investigators with investigations, like say, they will be able to take the data and the intelligence that we get, sometimes from the Fusion Center, sometimes from our own reports and that kind of stuff, and help us to be more efficient with our efforts and how we deploy resources from the police department to get the job done and provide the service we need to. I thought that was a question.
What's your arrangement to get somebody on loan from the Guard, National Guard?
What do you mean, what's the arrangement?
Yeah, how do you go about getting a guy from the National Guard on loan?
We asked. And it was just that simple. They want to share their resources, and that's one of the things I think a lot of people don't realize. That's why for us partnering with other people and just being a good partner, being a good neighbor, sometimes it means a lot. People want to come and be a part of what we're doing because, and again, I'm not bragging, because we're the Auburn Police Department. We extend that to other people. While I was sitting in the back of the room, I had a public safety director from another area call and ask, hey, can we use one of your investigators? We have a real detailed investigation going on. We just like to borrow one of your investigators just for a little while. That goes on all the time. To just call and ask, you'd be surprised at what you'll get.
I'm tickled to death that you're getting them. I just didn't know of an MOS that did that in the Army. I don't know where you're getting that guy, but you need to hire him, I guess.
Probably Air Force.
And also, do you have a location identified yet for your South Side precinct, potential site?
We don't have a actual location identified. We're looking at various properties now, trying to identify a location.
Okay.
You're looking off of exit 50 and 51,
Yes.
somewhere in one of those two vicinities.
Thanks.
Yes. Finally, as far as the back to the university, we're still in discussions with them. I don't think there's too many days that go by I don't have some type of a conversation with Clarence Stewart about adding cameras. I know this football season they've already contracted to get some of the trailer cameras where we can move them around at different locations on and around campus to kind of monitor crowds and other things that are going on. But we're also wanting to make sure that we get the permanent cameras in places. The goal there is to eventually have every, I guess, public space on the campus and the area around campus covered by cameras. Those cameras provide us with the ability to see what's going on in real time. They also give us the ability to go back after something has happened. If we missed it, they clue us in as to who may have did it, or develop suspects and that kind of stuff. So having more cameras is gonna help us tremendously. So that's a discussion we're having with them. So we want to make that continue to happen. So that is my presentation. Any questions?
I have a question before Tommy gets started.
Uh-oh.
I wanted to ask, I go into the school system because I got a youth organization, so I'll go in and visit some of those kids that's in my organization. And then, so I noticed that there was, at one of the schools I went to, I think it was a officer, and he had a office in the school. It was one of the elementary schools. So how many schools, are all the schools, do they all have officers there? Now, I do see police cars, but I actually seen his office. So are all those schools, even not just the elementary school, but the high school and the middle school and all those, they have those officers, I guess?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We were one of the first states. There's a couple of others that followed suit, but we were one of the first agencies in the state to partner with the school system to put officers in every school. We didn't want to put an officer in just one or two schools because our kids, they're our most valuable resource. To keep them safe and to safeguard them is like keeping our future safe and safeguarding our future, and that's what we want to do. So yeah, every school, and I think the high school has two or three. So we have, in some schools, some instances, multiple officers. We also have K-9s in some of the schools. So that is something we have already been in communication with the Auburn City Schools about. They're looking at building some new schools here in the near future, and we're already communicating with them about adding additional resources in the way of school resource officers to house and house may not be the right word, but we have an agreement with the schools that the officer will have a workplace, a workstation within the brick and mortar building. And so, yeah, it's his or her office to use to conduct, business for the school and for the police department.
So with that being said, so with the new schools that's coming in now, so would you have to hire additional officers, or are you using the ones that you already got for the new schools, or are we looking at cost and
I
putting
think
that in the budget, or?
we're communicating and talking with the schools to see what they're able to afford, because they're eventually gonna be paying for these officers. It started off with us paying the bulk of it, but as time has progressed, we've been passing more and more of that cost on to them. So we want to see what they're going to be able to afford, what they're going to be able to put forward to help us with that endeavor. But again, it's too important to us, and when I say that, I'm talking police, to make sure that the schools are safe, and I can't imagine not putting an officer in a school now. I mean, when you see what's going on around the country, I couldn't face a parent if I know I didn't put an officer in that school. So it's important to us to do that.
The contract you adopted Tuesday night addresses the future schools to make sure that how that mechanism will work. It's a 3-year agreement, but that was to ensure that, Connie, is to make sure that, and then, yeah, we would have to, if we take from our current officer pool for somebody to be a school resource officer, then we do. But we also do wonderful work with a lot of our retirees who are able to be school resource officers, and these folks don't want to work full-time year-round, but they, in state, changed some retirement legislation that allows them to be school resource officers, and they love it. This is a highly competitive position within the Auburn Police Department. People really, really enjoy being school resource officers. Not everyone does, but the ones who apply and pursue that love it and would love nothing more than be there. So it's a good program.
Okay, so, and one more thing, I just want to thank Auburn Police Department for when y'all provide officers to come out for the Juneteenth, and how that works well with the community in that area, and how, you know, it bonds and creates a relationship with the, I guess you would call it the West Side. So, you know, I really appreciate it, and how good your officers are when they're there and how they interact. And I'm really thankful for that services, and you know, any other service that you can provide in that area that's positive. You know, it goes a long ways.
Well, thank you, and we enjoy coming out. I mean, the guys enjoy coming out and interacting, especially with the young kids. I think there was actually some video circulating after the last one where some of our officers were out there dancing. So we corrected that, but yeah, they had a good time while they were doing it. Yeah. So, any other questions?
Chief, we appreciate you, man.
Well,
Y'all keep us all safe and allow us to enjoy a great town to live in, because we know you're there and we're grateful. And I know we got a hard season coming up here with all these ball games and football starting. And I know you guys are going to have to put in a lot of extra hours, and just know that I really appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
And you know the chief is humble, but I will out him on, he is Dr. Chief now. So he's very humble, but in a smaller setting. We're very proud of everything Cedric's ever done, but he's had a huge personal accomplishment recently, and I don't want to thoroughly embarrass him, but I do want to congratulate him with the council here, to know that he's always striving for more. He's a student of many things, and he's very conscientious, and he's pursued a PhD before he was chief of police, and has completed that, and I'm very proud of him.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Chief, I love that.
Thank you, Doctor.
I'd like to ask you quickly about the information you provided about the SWAT training and the investigator classes. I presume that's happening at the training facility?
Some of it is happening at the training facility. Some may happen here in-house. We have training going on today out at the range, so we have a number of different locations where we can conduct training, but it comes down to what the training is. We have officers that are certified to teach motors, which is the motorcycle riding. We have a number of officers certified in that. We have officers that are certified to teach the bike courses. We have a certified scuba instructor. It depends on what the training is, that will dictate where we do it. And so, yes, some of that training takes place at the training facility, especially the SWAT, because they have to use the tower and some of the other equipment up there. But the investigative training, we can possibly, depending on how large the group is, use the facilities upstairs.
That's great news. Thank you.
Can you loan your scuba diver to engineering so they can do their retention pond?
It hadn't come up, so I don't know.
The scuba diver's probably been used in one before for other reasons, but yeah.
But before I sit down, I would like to tell you also about another technology that you guys approved us to have, and that's our NIBIN system. That NIBIN system, it is a ballistic, system that analyzes shell casings. And we thought it would be a really positive thing. We thought it would be something that would help us and help surrounding agencies, but we had no idea how successful it was going to be. We have not only made connections to a number of cases within this region, but we have actually been able to assist with cases as far away as California using that system, providing leads and information to help them resolve cases. So again, the technology that we're investing in, it not just only helps us, but it helps people all across this country. So thank you for being supportive of us and our efforts to provide, like I said, not just a service to the community, but to other people as well. So thank you.
Tommy?
Dr. Anderson, I'm extremely proud of you. You've come a long way since 1992.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
You had a good sergeant in narcotics when you were working in
I
narcotics.
sure did. Yes, I did.
I want to say I appreciate this council. Y'all, the money you provided, everything this man, this department has asked for, you pretty much have found a way to pay for it. And that means a lot. And I get up a lot of times and read social media about what they've done the night before. I always find a way to solve the big cases. And that's one of the very important things, because you reach out to different families. But I really appreciate you, Chief, and I know what you go through. I don't know how you go out. Look at me, I got gray hair and losing hair and broke down, but you're still in shape and got that full head of hair. So you're doing something right. And I want to commend, I think I see Captain George Creighton sitting back there, a recent graduate of National Academy, if I'm not mistaken. I never thought you'd make it this far either, George. One of the days you hopped Lieutenant Dawson downtown and you were working security. We had a good time. And then our Director Matthews, I remember when he first showed up as a rookie around here, and he's done a good job his whole career. But just want to say how much I appreciate the effort you put into it. I know you do a lot of praying for your department, and that's the key to it. Folks don't realize 99% of what you do as a police officer involves prayer. If you don't pray the good Lord bless you, you're not gonna catch a lot of folks that need to be called. But you're doing a good job. Appreciate what you. I know what each of you and George and Will and all your officers. And I personally know what you go through, and I know how much you appreciate knowing you're well thought of, because a lot of times it's all you get. But you're doing a wonderful job. Now I say that and something will mess up for you tonight, but. But I do appreciate you, and I'm one of those guys, you cut me and I bleed blue instead of red, so I'll keep up with you, and I'm just so proud of everything y'all do for this community. I have 2 grandkids growing up in this community now, and it's one thing I tell folks, there's nowhere in Auburn, anytime, day or night, I wouldn't take my 2 grandkids and go for a walk, if I could walk still. But I'd take my scooter and put them on each side, and we go through any neighborhood in Auburn, any neighborhood, and most places can't say that. So I appreciate the efforts y'all give, and stay safe and keep doing the good work.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, for the staff, if you and people in the room, if you could just stay seated for a minute, we're going to call an executive session to order, and then we're going to convene in a separate conference room, and then you can get up and depart. It'll just take about 2-3 minutes to call the session to order. So, Mayor, if you're ready, I'm going to call the meeting to order.
Real quick, before we do that, I know this is our final budget hearing. Megan, I want to say thank you for the effort and the work that has been put in to provide this notebook full of information. I want to thank all the departments that have taken time away from doing your job to provide all this information for us. We're very grateful, very proud of the people that work for the city of Auburn and how much you care about your job to go through this process. And I appreciate the fact that you guys are dreaming about your future, and you've got goals and ambitions about how to make things better and make Auburn a better place by improving what goes on in your department. So I'm really thankful. I know that your finance team and your budget team does a lot of heavy lifting, and I appreciate all of y'all in particular. Thank you for that. Stephen, you and Walt usually can stay out of the fray most of the time, but y'all been drug into the middle of it, and I appreciate that. Both you guys are veterans, right? Yeah, well, it shows by your discipline and your hard work, and we appreciate that as well. But I just want to say, on behalf of the council, thank you to everybody in this room. You did a great job. We're very proud, and we've got a lot to consider here over the next month or so as we get ready to approve this budget. But we've got a lot of good information that y'all provided to us, so thank you.
And Mayor, but before you do that, yes, I'd also like to thank the staff. You saw the passion in everybody. They don't get to tell you about their departments very often. We run through a lot of things in a council meeting. The metrics are important because you're seeing delivery of services for the budget money. I wouldn't want to work with any other group of people but these, and it's tremendous work. But we also have a very supportive governing body who asks good questions, who is intentional in what you do. You're committed. We appreciate that in all of you. I think the challenge moving forward is we will put an ordinance on the first meeting in September agenda. However, you're fine. We have the entire month of September. Sometimes you guys deny unanimous consent to let it marinate more. That's totally fine. We are prepared and ready for questions that often come in this time period. A lot of times in writing, we'll distribute back out to you guys questions that we're getting. If we need to meet individually with any of you, we'll gladly do that. So just let us know.
Thank you.